Is anybody in there? All right. Let's get it, gang. What happens if we just scroll through Twitter? We always do YouTube. What happens if we scroll through Twitter? I feel like it's going to be way too political, and I'm going to expose my Twitter stream far too much. But hey, maybe it's the way to go. It's classic. It's so way funnier. Oh. Just busting it down.
Latina, for sure, because they're going to cook, clean, they're going to make sure that everything's going good for the family, they're going to have a bunch of babies. Now, a freaking liberal, they're 5 times vaccinated, probably can't have a baby because their womb's probably shrunken up from all of the side effects of the COVID vaccine, and they're mentally ill on probably 10 different antidepressants.
Oh, nice, dude. You guys good into my shit over there? Good shit, man. Good shit. What's up, Max W? I'm just scrolling through my Twitter like a fucking degen right now. Should I fire up some RimWorld instead? Then you can really goon to me. Stephen Colbert got canceled because he's not funny and stupid.
Now you can
Black
respond.
Women cannot be racist to white women. Are you racist to white women? Are you kidding me?
Sorry?
That makes no sense.
Sorry?
Black women cannot be racist to white women. Do you not understand that?
Oh, yes, they can.
You don't have the intellectual
Oh, yes, they
capacity
can.
to understand that.
Oh, yes, they
But that's
can.
very much
And you've been
impossible.
racist to me.
That's very much
You've been
impossible.
racist to me, a white man, by saying I'm a race baiter.
Yo, straight up. Fuck all the noise. Fuck all the Piers Morgan shit. Let's make Piers Morgan in RimWorld. Piers Morgan in RimWorld, baby. Let's do it. Oh wait, I have to change my download that shit. Yeah, Stephen Colbert used to be funny. I don't know what happened to Stephen Colbert. He also used to be conservative or something. Like, that was like his whole shtick. And then he got a bigger job, and then I guess they were like, oh no, now you're liberal. You have too many viewers, you're liberal now. That's hype. This dude just bought all these houses for $5,000. Did you guys see this? Wait, let's watch that. Not this. Oh, that's cool. That's getting some views. Don't look at the like to dislike ratio. Yeah, that's true. It was like ironically conservative, but now he's not even allowed to be ironically conservative. Like, he can't even pretend to be conservative, which is hilarious. Like, why'd he give up on the shtick? The shtick was the thing that worked. and then he just became like every other Jimmy Fallon kind of guy.
I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line. Need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this. Right? I had a
Obama gay confirmed. Obama confirmed gay guy. Hysterical. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to do. I was going to destroy this guy's video. Maybe I'll wait a sec. Okay. Well, first you guys got to see my Rim World. My Rim World. Got to see what I'm up to, dog. It's like the least impressive thing. The only thing that's impressive is that I created Christianity, like word for word. Let's see if it loads. Are we bossing? We're bossing. Check it, doggies. Check it. Like, yeah, dude, check it. We're actually balling here. I got a little church. They have to build this reliquary at some point, but they do like funerals in here and stuff here. A marriage spot. They need to build this thing. I don't know why they're not. I have no steel. Yeah. Yeah, we're doing our best over here. Oh, yeah. This is gonna be... Two of these people are like married or something. Oh yeah, you like the rim style? Yeah, it's not looking too bad. I can't remember which two are like married though. Okay, fiance, Felix and Jet. Okay. So ideologian forbids sleeping in the same bed. I guess they have to actually be married to sleep in the same bed. Whatever, this will be her bridal chamber until the marriage. Let's do a little wall lamp action. Maybe one there. Maybe one here. That's nice. That's very nice. Why don't we get a little end table? Maybe a dresser over on this wall. A couple dressers. Could have their breakfast in the morning. They have to sit next to each other. Yeah. I mean, it's not looking too bad. We got minor break risk on a couple people. Levi, let's see what he needs. What's he need? Yeah, the barracks are just not good enough. I was gonna move him into here. Like, that'd be pretty nice, right? First of all, let's make that not a medical bed. Let's make that his room. He needs better apparel. I wonder how I do that. Hand tailor bench. Goodness. Your dressers need to be closer to the bed. Oh, really? That's wild. Oh, I see what you're saying. Very interesting. What is that? Why did she just drop that off at the prisoners? Yeah, let's see what he's up to. 8 raw food, ravenously hungry. Can somebody bring him some food, please? So why are we doing raw food? This is something I'm still sort of figuring out, is like how to make them cook, if you have any tips for that. Getting steel right now is probably your #1 priority. Oh, you can move towards individual rooms too soon. Getting steel right now is probably your #1 priority. He's learning. Okay, American. Yeah, I will check that out. I've seen it, and I could definitely debunk it. It's retarded. So let's do it. I'm down to watch that. I was just showing my friends this world that I'm working on, but it's really not what the stream is. Although one day I will just stream this for like 11 hours straight and probably get way more viewers than I ever have had before. But okay. Well, this is a good place to leave it. I mean, it's looking kind of cool, right? Pretty good. We could order some mining. Where should I mine? Wait, I told them to mine this, but nobody's doing it. Oh, okay. Set the meals to do X and make it 30. Word. That makes sense. Okay. Gotta get some food. I also need them to chop a bunch of trees. Okay, American. I'm not forgetting about you. Oh, until you have X. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Sweet. Yeah, it's looking good, right? We're kind of trucking along. I mean, I'm already on like, you know, day 30 essentially, and this is all I've done, but whatever. Taking it slow, kind of balling. Oh, okay. Wait, this is my favorite part. We can make we can make Levi convert the. Oh no, I don't want him to strip it. Why don't we do this one? Council. Oh, okay, I have to make him a Christian first. So now Levi's gonna go proselytize to the prisoner. Nice. He's actually pretty good at it too. The thing is, this is Von Schild, or like Felix's son, so we need to get him on our side. Oh, nice. Now he's eating real food. Okay. That's good stuff. Thank you for the tips, Jack. Okay, Charlie, down. Okay, now we're doing the thing. The Devil's, what is it called? Satan's Guide to the Bible? I have to find that comment. Satan's Guide to the Bible. And you know what's so funny about, well, we'll talk about it. Yeah, this is so creepy, dude. It's literally made for children. Like, it's so bad. I don't know why everything's so laggy. You're welcome, Jack. This is so creepy.
Lord willing, my faith will be made stronger this morning.
100%, whoever made this video actually kidnapped all the kids to do the voices. I actually can't tell what's creepier. If the pedophile that made this video is doing all the kids' voices, or if he captured all the kids to do the voice.
I love Sunday school.
I love singing in Sunday school. I
Oh,
hope you get to
those.
sing my favorite song.
Where's the teacher?
The teacher is late. I sure hope nothing's wrong. Do you think something bad happened?
For reals? Let's all pray for the teacher.
Whoa.
For reals? It can't be.
Oh my gosh.
Is that?
Your teacher. Your substitute Sunday school teacher.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.
Oh yeah, what pastors won't tell you. It's also funny that he had this video has to target evangelicals and like pastors, right? Because it's got nothing on any sort of like actually rigid tradition. I'm 1000% sure.
This little light of mine.
I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day.
Every day, every way. Sing it with me. My little light shine.
You can't be here.
Yeah, this is God's house.
You're evil. Literal evil.
Students, the New Testament writers really messed me up.
Messing you up.
The New Testament, a Christian amendment added to the Bible. They mixed me up with the devil.
That's crazy.
I fail to see a resemblance. The original Jewish part, the Old Testament, the vast majority of the Bible, bears witness to the real me.
What, so even more evil? In the New Testament, Satan is effete and a loser because Christ has come to destroy him, and he does destroy him. In the Old Testament, Satan has more power, but he's just more evil. So I don't know what he's saying here. We'll see.
The real you. Who do you say you
So
are?
crazy.
I'm the adversary. Satan literally means adversary. I'm the opponent in
Yup.
this match.
You're gonna fight the Bible?
Evil!
No fighting. I'm here to reveal peacefully hidden Bible secrets.
Bible secrets?
None of us will believe your secrets. The Bible says you're the father of lies.
Yeah.
Again, that's him.
Yeah, Americans goes, it's about the Bible mostly, not really denominations. Yeah, but the thing is, his arguments only work if you belong to a Protestant or probably specifically evangelical denomination because of the whole sola scriptura thing. So when Satan points out something in the Bible that can be used for evil, that only works if the Bible is your only authority, your only referent. Because the interpretation and the context of those verses is also important. And Protestants and evangelicals don't get that. They don't get the interpretation from their church. They're told to figure it out for themselves, or their pastor figures it out on a totally, unique basis. So we'll see. Maybe it's not that,
me.
but
I rebuke you, Satan.
yeah, get behind me.
Noted. There are, of course, other witnesses to these Bible secrets. One of the witnesses everyone here trusts.
Who?
Your pastor.
Pastor Mark knows these Bible secrets too?
He does. Like lots of pastors, he learned a bunch of Bible secrets at seminary.
And he won't share them with
And
us?
you won't hear
He's
them?
keeping secrets.
That's not fair.
Are there
I like how this video, like the weird thing about this video, we always have to think about what is the meta story going on here? What is actually happening? So what's actually happening is some fat neckbeard Reddit atheist in the best case scenario, and the worst case scenario, it's an actual Satanist trying to trick and lead people astray. But let's give it the, give it the benefit of the doubt. So a fat neckbeard Reddit atheist sat down and said, I wonder how I can debunk the Bible. Well, I could probably only do it to kids, and I could probably only do it to kids that I imagined. As long as I make up the kids and they're kids, then I could trick them that the Bible is false, or that the Bible tells you need to murder and rape and whatever the horrible things that he's gonna say the Bible teaches.
any pastors that went to seminary that will share the Bible secrets?
There are, but they're not called pastors. They're called biblical scholars.
Where can
Also false. I mean, who cares about biblical scholars?
we find them?
Surprise! I brought them with me. The best and most famous biblical scholars
Yeah.
are standing by live.
And they're
to
all
answer your
atheists.
questions.
They'll tell us what Pastor Mark learned in seminary.
They will. The biblical scholars will tell you the Bible secrets.
Oh, wow.
I like secrets.
Me too. But heed this warning.
What about?
When it's revealed I shared the Bible secrets, ooh boy, Mommy and Daddy are gonna be super pissed.
Uh-oh. Am I getting grounded?
You're about to get sent to hell, but
This is where all the Bible secrets are kept.
On a bus?
A seminary is a religious college. Christians go there to become a pastor, a leader of a church.
I want to be a doctor.
Future doctors go to med school. Future pastors go to seminary. Now, watch this. Biblical scholars reveal what pastors learn at seminary stays at seminary.
Pastors that were trained in biblical studies, that went to seminary, they've been working on the sources and doing history. And then they come to the reality that they have to actually preach to their congregations, and they cannot always say what they've learned.
yeah, duh. That's why they went to seminary. It's not to say that a pastor won't tell you exactly what he learned if you get him alone, but what is he going to go through the primary sources and present his PhD thesis at church on Sunday when he's got a Bible to read and a message to preach? I mean, of course they're not going to tell you what they learned at seminary. That's why they go to seminary. It's like an intensive. If a PhD, this is a good example. If a professor of biology at the University of Harvard, right? Not that it's called that. I don't know what it's called. Harvard University. If a biology professor at Harvard is brought in to a class of third graders, is he going to tell the third graders what he studied in his PhD thesis? Is it even going to make sense to the third graders? So, dumb analogy, thinking that it's conflating this thing with like the pastors don't say every single thing they learn in seminary to their parishioners, with the idea that the pastors are intentionally lying to their parishioners. No, it's what they learned flows down into their corpus of knowledge, and it helps them write specific sermons, things like that.
Why not? These are Christian colleges.
How can you take all of the stuff you study and translate it to the ordinary person?
Mm-hmm.
They could just blurt it out?
No, they couldn't. Net it. Remember, whenever one of these kids talks, it is a Reddit atheist neckbeard fat guy doing a little kid's voice, however much you like, whatever that means to you. Jeez, man, this is dark. This is dark.
Pastors have to discern on a daily basis. How do I take these questions and the study that they feel like their congregations aren't ready for?
I'm ready.
It should be the role of the pastor to convey what is actually in the Bible and what is not.
Agree with that.
Where people depend on their pastors, and where the pastors are falling down on the job.
Yeah, that's why pastors aren't good at that. But
Still don't get why they don't tell the truth.
Yes, why can't pastors
not that they're lying, but holding certain things back that would cause doubt to their flock. Yeah, again, that's why this ultimately is a denominational thing, because you don't have that choice in sort of stricter denomination, stricter than Orthodox Catholicism, even Anglicanism to some extent. They do have like a liturgical reading calendar. But yeah, this is really only a problem for evangelicals, that pastors just get to kind of decide what they teach about or decide what verses they read, and they can leave a bunch of verses out. And, I get it. To any pastors who are doing that, they absolutely should not. But to say that that's a disproof of the Bible in any sense is also wrong. I guess they're going to tell us, next Satan is going to tell us what are the things they're holding back, right? They're going to say, oh, well, they didn't tell you about this verse and they didn't tell you about that verse. So the whole preamble to this is already sort of only applicable to evangelicals and Protestants. But then even once we get into it, you'll see that none of the problems are actually problems. It's just a framing. It's just a framing that certain biblical scholars take, and, of course, Satan.
Dr. Ehrman?
It's for a pretty obvious reason that they don't tell their parishioners these things, because these things would be challenging to faith, and they're afraid that they'll lose members or that their church will rise up against them.
If they really told them what's in the Bible or what we found out about the Bible, their members would be lost.
Yeah.
Don't want to lose their jobs.
Pastors can lose their jobs?
And their family's health insurance.
Many pastors simply are silent about the things that they learned in seminary.
I've been blessed with permanent employment. I can spill the Bible secrets.
No pastor is ever going to lose his job for talking about a tough Bible passage. When is that? This is such a straw man, right? Yes, it's possible for a pastor to lose his job. That means the Bible is errant. That means the Bible is wrong, that it's sort of Satan's book or whatever stupid argument they're going to make. Yeah, of course a pastor can lose his job. The question is, what would he lose his job for? And if the answer is reading the Bible to his parishioners, that's absolutely never going to be the case. That's never going to be the case. Now, from Satan's perspective, it might be fucked up that a pastor could lose his job for being a Satanist. In other words, interpreting the Bible the way this Reddit neckbeard atheist is interpreting it. But you should lose your job for that, because that means you're not a man of God. That means you literally don't love God. You hate him. If you're trying to take the least, if you're trying to take the harshest interpretation instead of the most sort of understanding interpretation within the context. But we'll see. It's a lot of talking, and we still haven't gotten to anything.
I know
So.
secrets.
Secrets about history, secrets about moral issues, authorship secrets. Oh, and my biggest secrets of all are secrets about Jesus.
Big secrets about Jesus?
Secrets about Jesus? Secrets everyone at seminary knows and we don't?
That is totally not fair.
Totally not fair. Turns out there aren't any secrets, but anyway, that's totally unfair. Like, he can't even trick real kids, so he has to make up kids, do their shitty voices, and then trick those made-up kids that he made up.
Our house.
Well, then let's begin. I've got big seminary secrets about Bible history.
Oh no. What's gonna happen?
The Bible does make that claim, and God's biggest act in history.
Yeah, we'll start with this one.
Testament, that's the Exodus.
Freedom.
Liberation.
The Bible says Israelites lived in Egypt for more than 400 years.
Indeed.
Slaves to the empire. The Bible tells about a great man.
Moses.
That's Moses.
Moses takes on Pharaoh and his empire.
Let my people go.
Let my people go.
Never.
Awful plagues. The last plague? Killing all firstborn.
Yeah, right. As if that's not taught about. You fucking retard, Satan. It's actually, Satan's not retarded. He's actually quite smart. So he plays on our, plays on our emotions. How could God kill the firstborn of every person? How could he do it? But remember what the premise of the video was to begin with? It was things that the pastors are keeping from you that they learned in seminary. Everybody knows about this, dummy. It's taught every year. It's taught aggressively. It's in every piece of literature and media about the Exodus. So if you're going to say, God killed all the babies. God killed all the babies. He killed all the babies. Then what you're saying is something that everybody already knows and is still Christian anyway. And actually, it turns out there's a good reason for the sacrifice of the firstborn. But they won't tell you that. He won't give you any of the context. He won't give you any of the symbolic meaning. Again, like we saw, I thought he was going to bring up this thing that historical critical scholars say, that the Exodus never happened, that there weren't 6 million or however many Jews there are claimed to be in Egypt that left Egypt at the time frame we're talking about. And we could talk about that. For one, they say that based on a lack of evidence, but a lack of evidence doesn't equal an evidence of lack. But this is an even stupider point. This taking something that is part of the story for a very specific reason and using that as a proof against God. Even more so, the stupidity of it is that, oh, shoot, I lost it. I had another thing. It's most known to least known. Okay, I got you. So if he's just going to say a bunch of shit that everyone knows for a while, and then kids are going to pretend like they have a view of why that's bad or wrong.
Large-scale exodus from Egypt.
The Exodus from Egypt never happened?
He's a Berkeley professor, Michelle.
So he must be right. Michelle, he's a Berkeley professor, so he must be right, even though he has no evidence that it never happened. Even though there's absolutely no evidence that it never happened. Just they haven't found as many pots as you'd think you'd find. They have found some pots. They just didn't find as many. So it never happened. The Exodus never happened. Because they needed to find 5 million pots, and they only found 10,000 pots. So it never happened. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. That's why this is specifically targeted at evangelicals. It has no power against an actual church. One, because of the whole sola scriptura thing, basically. But the other reason is because mostly evangelicals hold to these strict, historical, 7-day creationist accounts, and everything that's in the Bible the time must be exactly what actually happened. The time frames, every single word is has a primarily historical significance and not symbolic significance. But if the Exodus from Egypt is primarily symbolic, then this point doesn't even make any sense. It actually makes no sense at all. Especially, I haven't looked into it. We can look at other scholars, actual Christian scholars that aren't straw manning the context or whatever of the Bible, who can tell us what the numbers mean. So when Moses says, and 1,000,000 Jews exited Egypt, 1,000,000, especially in ancient languages, very rarely means the actual number, if it ever means the actual number. It just means a bunch of people, a shitload of people left, right? So this Exodus never happened thing is horseshit. It's just because they haven't found enough pots. They haven't found enough very breakable shit in the desert. You know what they have found, though? A shelf in the Red Sea, which is possible for them to have walked across. Like a perfectly flat, raised shelf that people could have walked across. But we'll ignore that, because that's evidence for the positive case of something strange actually having happened. But we have a bunch of non-evidence. We have a bunch of lack of evidence. So the Exodus never happened. That's the argument. That's retarded. This is good. This is going to be another anti-evangelical.
Oh, for the love of me, I have to interrupt Satan here.
Is that Jesus?
Jesus golfs?
Children, if you're taking notes this morning, I want you to write down a word. Will you do that for God?
What word?
We praise you.
Anything for you, Jesus.
Inerrant?
Inerrant.
It means without error. Later, Satan. All the history told in my book is without error.
Then Israelites are really...
Straw man, false, only applicable to certain denominations of evangelical Protestants. So, again, this thing could trick little idiot baby kids. But anyone who's actually a Christian, anyone who actually has any sort of critical thought, this is not going to even penetrate any sort of doubt. So I hope it's working. I hope it really worked. I rebuke you, Satan. Thanks, Jen. Noted. 2 minutes in, and I am loving this. Even the commenters are retarded. Like, don't you realize that the same fat Reddit neckbeard atheist that wrote I rebuke you, Satan, also wrote thanks, Jen. Noted? Like, that doesn't strike you as extremely cringe? It doesn't strike you as this performative fucking... Seminaries where faith / the soul goes to die. Fortunately, he's ultimately figured out that he was and still is an awesome person with or without religion. The belief that one can't be moral without religion is both ridiculous and damaging. Nobody said you can't be moral without religion. It's just that morality does not exist if God does not exist. So, unfortunately for him, he can't be an awesome person without religion. Okay, let's keep going.
From Egypt? For reals?
The most reals there is. The Bible says they lived in Egypt for 430 years.
4 centuries? 10 generations of Israelites living and dying in the Empire of Egypt.
Again, only applies to evangelicals. Look at this. They're literally at the Evangelical Theological Society. Look at this. That's what I said. Isn't that exactly what I said at the beginning? All of these critiques literally only apply to one specific denomination. The least, how do I say? I don't want to be mean, but the least grounded sect of Christianity. The most, I do it my way. I read the book my way, and that's what it means. Sect of Christianity. So this doesn't even approach a critique of like Catholicism or Orthodoxy or anything like that. The promise of the already promised land. I wonder what he's got on this.
No historical errors, he says.
Inerrant.
How about we continue investigating Israelite origins?
If not out of Egypt, where are the Israelites really from?
To uncover that seminary secret, we gotta talk about a well-known bro.
He one of my bros?
He's a bro beloved by Christian bros, Jewish bros, even Muslim bros.
That's a heck of a bro.
In the 17th chapter of the book of Genesis, God is broing out with him too.
That's Abraham.
Father Abraham.
He owns the title the first Jew. Father, bro, Abraham.
Father Abraham.
What's with the songs? Let's be serious. Why are they doing these songs? It's like gross. It's cringe because the point of the video is to hypothetically put the Bible into some new atheistic light or something. But it seems like it's actually targeted at children, and it seems like it's actually trying to get them to associate these cute little Sunday school songs that they actually sing with Satan. It's really dark. It's actually really fucked up. Well, I don't understand. This is like pedophile behavior. If you're trying to get a bunch of kids to come onto your new ideology, this is what you do. You'd introduce them with songs that you know they already like and try to like rejigger them so that they can now fit into this retarded Satanist paradigm, which, by the way, none of these arguments work at all. They barely work against the evangelicals, but they would only work against evangelicals. So...
Many sons had Father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you. So let's just praise the Lord right on.
Abraham was God's bro. So, 2,000 years before Jesus, God promised Abraham land.
We know what God promised Abraham.
The land of delicious milk.
Yummy honey.
And I've seen the promised land.
In Genesis,
Why are you quoting Martin Luther King there? I thought this was Satan's guide to the Bible. Why are we taking great men who are Christians and using them in any sort of way?
God says,
For all the land that you see, I will give to you and to your offspring forever.
Look, bro, I don't want to seem ungrateful, all right? You're insane. But aren't you forgetting something kind of major?
What's that, bro?
The land ain't empty. And I don't think those people are on vacation neither.
Big wrong here. Yeah, so creepy, right, Danny? Isn't this so crazy? Okay, so big problem here. So what did God say? God said, see all the land before you? I'll give that to you and your offspring. All the land, forever. Okay? So Abraham's offspring never get all the land. Interesting, right? Abraham's... Yeah, American says, I wish they did not use Satan as a format. It's not a good look. Yeah, but you know why they did that, American? Because this is Satan, okay? Satan has taken the form of certain atheists. I'm not saying all atheists are doing the work of their father, Satan, but this one is. This is an actual satanic piece of media that's been given out, and you can tell by all the stuff. You can tell by the weird kid shit. You can tell by the cleverness of it, the fact that it almost works, the fact that it works if you're retarded, that you would like believe these lies. So let's break down this one, the Promised Land. So what is the Promised Land, and who are Moses's descendants? This is like this is fallaciously equating the land of milk and honey, Canaan, that with the Promised Land that Abraham's promised. That's not what Abraham's promised. He's promised that his offspring will rule, will have dominion over the entire world forever. That's the Christian church. That has nothing to do with the conquest of Canaan. If it was with the conquest of if it had to do with the conquest of Canaan, then the promise didn't come true, because they didn't rule it forever, and it wasn't all the land he could see. So he's about to set up this false dichotomy and say, like, oh, well, God promised Moses or Abraham all these lands, and so then the Christians went and they got to kill all the people, and they killed all the Canaanites, and yada, yada, yada. And we can get into the apologetics regarding the divine commands of God to take the Promised Land. First of all, the Canaanites weren't like happy-go-lucky people. They were sacrificing children, cutting off the breasts of war criminals, slave owners, vicious slave owners, truly horrific people. So if you want to say that God should not have commanded Abraham, or not Abraham, but should not have commanded Moses and the Israelites to take the promised land later on, then you're also saying we should not have fought Hitler in World War II, because it's wrong to kill people regardless of how evil they are. If that's your standard for morality, then we should not have defeated Hitler in World War II. We should have just let him do his thing, because, hey, that's his land. That's his land. They should kill all the people they want, sacrifice all the babies they want. That's their land. No, God is just, so he doesn't put up with that. So that's a basic apologetic against that. But that's regardless of the fact that Satan is obviously misrepresenting the point of that passage. Okay.
But this land has already been promised.
The promised land was already promised to who?
We who?
That's who. Promised to Canaanite people.
Who promised it to them?
Canaanites?
The Canaanites were the indigenous tribes living in Canaan.
Looks like a lot of ites.
Yeah, etc. Ites. These ites never got a promise from me. The only one here who got a land promise from me is my bro Abraham. It's my land, I made it, and I can give it freely.
That's exactly right. That's literally exactly right. They're saying it tongue in cheek. They're saying it flippantly because that's what Satan does. He has to take. Satan is confined to God's law. Like, God is always bigger, stronger, smarter, better than Satan in every respect. So when Satan is compelled by God to say something that is true, he does it with this kind of like smarmy accent, right? This smarmy, yeah, well, it's my land, and but like, yes, it is his land. It is actually his land. He is actually God. He does actually have the authority to do things that any individual doesn't like. And now, of course, Satan's going to look at the essential, like, what the conquest of the Canaanite lands essentially is a more just, I'm not saying they're perfect, but a more just society going into a barbaric, horrific land of child mutilation and sacrifice and female mutilation and things that do not take place at all in ancient Israelite culture, actually because of prescriptions by God, because of the many commandments he gives Moses on the mountain and to his people. So you're watching a just land go in and exterminate Nazis. So if you think the Canaanites shouldn't have been pushed out of their land, do you also think Nazis should be allowed to have their spaces? Like, Nazis should just rule Europe. Nazis should just rule Germany. And we actually shouldn't do anything about it. Because that's their land. No, that's soy boy, soft, slow boy logic. And of course, it's Satan's logic because he is slow.
Any chance we could take a vote on that?
God promised Abraham land, but it was the land belonging to the Canaanites.
Bro or no bro?
Not cool. Yeah, this was definitely
Also, it didn't belong to them. It doesn't belong to anyone but God.
his idea. 100%. He's insane.
Nation will rise against nation.
So let's just praise the Lord. Right arm left, arm right, foot left, foot chin up, turn around, sit down.
It's my favorite Sunday school.
The giggling? Where does he get the giggling? Where do you get that sound prompt, creep? Were you doing all those giggles? Did you capture a bunch of kids to do the giggles? Fucking creep. Evangelicals say Canaanites were totally crappy. Well, they were.
They were so vile and so evil. Clay Jones has written an article on this.
In that article, I documented that among the Canaanites, there was incest, adultery, offering children to a bull-headed idol named Molech, homosexual acts, and that bestiality, and that all these were rampant.
All sorts of abominable practices. They get to the point where they're actually sacrificing their children.
So it's not as though they're just people who are wearing tattoos or eating shrimp, unlike the Israelites.
The Canaanites are the bad guys, children.
They literally
He that's
are.
not with me is against me. Verily then.
Yeah. I mean, if I was doing what this video was doing, just like take everything out of context and present the strongest form of this like contextless black hole, I would just have played that 2 minutes and then stop the video. Say, see, God was right to destroy the Canaanites. They're incestuous. They were killing children. They were warlike. They were slavers. They were everything that would be bad about any society. But now, of course, because he's Satan, because he's a fat Reddit neckbeard atheist, he's going to defend the child sacrificers somehow. Let's see how he does it. I'm curious.
Flock?
Okay, the Canaanites, according to evangelical scholars, are so awful they deserve to lose their homes.
Yep.
Please locate your nearest exit now.
God simply wants to steal the Canaanites' land.
Thank God.
No, they stole it from him, defiled it, and he's getting it back for his people who aren't incestuous, who don't sacrifice children. How about that?
Gets it.
But God's plot to steal the Canaanites' land is about to take an unexpected turn.
Oh no.
Think
What's going to
back the
happen?
ites of Israel.
Whoa.
If Moses and the Israelites never came from Egypt,
If not out of Egypt, where are the Israelites really from?
That's the creepiest one. What is this baby doing here? I mean, because that is this guy. That is whoever made this video. You can't hire a baby. So that is whoever made this video doing baby voice. Which is ironic because that's probably like his brain is probably closer to the brain of a baby's than even a toddler. But
Come from? For reals.
So when the archaeologists look at the material culture of early Israelite villages, they're continuous with the material culture of Canaanite culture. It's the same culture.
What?
Aren't Canaanites the bad guys?
Hebrew is a Canaanite language, and the early writings from the Bible show a clear continuity with older Canaanite literature, with Canaanite poetic forms, literary forms, people's names, people's language. This is all native Canaanite stuff.
early Israelite settlements left archaeologists with
I mean, what?
Canaanites.
Danny says, something that I've been realizing, it's very hard for people to realize that some cultures are better than others, even if the better culture is itself flawed, as it likely is. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially in the ancient world where there's zero rules, like no Geneva Convention, no overarching sort of authority to arbitrate between, like, this is right and this is wrong. And now this is another sort of historical critical, like, this is their favorite game to play, where they go like, well, the Israelites were actually Canaanites because they use the same poetic forms. Their pots and pans and cups look the same as the Canaanite cups. They emerge from the same cultures. And it's like, nobody's saying they didn't. But clearly the Israelites followed the Bible and the prophets. And the Canaanites, these distinct groups, the Amalekites, the Hittites, the whatever, all the ites, were following a different religion, particularly Moloch or Baal, who would request that they sacrifice the children to them. So who gives a shit if they came out of the same mountains and had the same poetry and had the same cups and pans? And the point is, one group of Canaanites. So you want to call Israelites Canaanites? Fine. How about this? One group of Canaanites is sacrificing children. Another group of Canaanites is not sacrificing children. What's the problem? You haven't refuted the problem. But of course, it's Satan's job to defend the child sacrificers. So he's trying to confuse these little kids, these fake little kids, by saying, oh, well, the Canaanites can't be all bad because the Israelites are Canaanites. It's like, no one said that. No, God didn't say that all the Canaanites are bad. Otherwise, that would include the Israelites, right? He said that if you're sacrificing children, you don't get to live here anymore. How about that? Which is, I think, if I ran a country or a state or a city, much less a universe, I would absolutely expel, kill, imprison anybody that was sacrificing children. It's pretty obvious. Satan doesn't really get those kind of minute points. He's the ultimate fool. But it's pretty obvious that you don't sacrifice children.
Stuff.
One of the names of God in the Bible is El.
Yep.
And El, we know, was also the name of the chief god of the Canaanite pantheon.
Word concept fallacy. Just because they use the same word doesn't mean they have the same concept. You can actually see that in the exact sentence he just said. Well, the Canaanites actually worshipped El as the chief god of their pantheon. Pantheon? Wait, sorry, what was that? Pantheon? Oh, so it's not monotheistic. Oh, so it's not the same El. Idiot. If there's a pantheon, it's not El as the Israelites are using it. Israelites are monotheists, right? And you could say, the historical critical scholars like to say, well, they were probably polytheists beforehand, and then they became monotheists. But that's only because the similarity of the word. It's a fallacy. Just because you use the same word for... It's actually... There's a debate going on right now between Catholics and Orthodox, because Catholics in Vatican II have to affirm that Muslims worship the same God as Christians, as Catholics. Now, this is just false. The God of Islam is completely different from the God of Christianity. So it's a word concept fallacy. Just because you call something the same word doesn't mean it is the same thing, right? American, or maybe the Israelites were using propaganda to justify their conquest, just like nations have done for centuries. I think it's silly to make a group of people into cartoon villains, but what if they actually are villains? So, for instance, what if I could tell you that we actually have burial plots of thousands and thousands of kids stacked in mass graves from Canaanite cultures? Like, would that change your mind, American? And what if they are using propaganda, but the propaganda is true? Also, that would be a straw man. That comment would be a straw man of how we see the scripture, how we see the Bible. If you're trying to do an internal critique of the Bible, you actually have to take the Bible into its context. And the context is that God tells us that they are like this. It's not Israelites telling other people that they're like this and justifying their conquest. There's actually no need at all to justify a conquest in the ancient world. There's no need at all. People just do it. If your might equals right in the ancient world. So if you can do it, you just do it. So they wouldn't need propaganda for anything else. This is a scripture. This is a prophetic text. So it doesn't really fit into the category of propaganda very well because it's just internal. But yeah. Okay. Well, we can look into that, American. I'm pretty sure I've read about that. I'm not sure if it's specifically with the Amalekites or the Canaanites, but we can look into if there are extra biblical evidence for child sacrifice happening. We can do that right now if you want. And I know, look, I'm not saying ChatGPT is right. I'm not saying it's a scholar, but it can lead us in a scholarly direction. Is there evidence for child sacrifice amongst Canaanites? They do like ancient Canaanites tribes around let's say extra biblical evidence for child sacrifice amongst Canaanite tribes in the ancient world. Yes, there is extra biblical evidence for child sacrifice among ancient Canaanite tribes, particularly the Phoenicians, Carthaginians, who were culturally and religiously descended from the Canaanites. While the Bible frequently denounces child sacrifice, especially to deities like Molech, archaeological and textual sources outside the Bible also attest to this practice. Here are the main lines. Tophets in Carthage and other Phoenician colonies. Tophets were open-air sanctuaries used for cremating infants. Thousands of urns with charred remains of infants and small animals have been discovered in layers. Over centuries, often inscribed with dedications to Baal, Haman, and Tanit. So this is the Phoenicians themselves saying, we're doing this, and we're doing it for Baal, and then we can look and find all the burned little babies in the jars. And then we also get, at the same time, in the Bible saying, they're doing this. They're doing it for Baal, and you need to go and stop it. So, to me, it's undeniable that these cultures were sacrificing children. Again, of course, if you have a ton of time and you're super into this, you could actually read the the scholarly articles, but we don't have time for that. Several ancient writers describe Carthaginian child sacrifice. Selected 200 of their noble children and sacrificed them publicly. With full knowledge, Plutarch, full knowledge and understanding, they offered up their own children, and those who had no children would buy little ones from poor people and cut their throats as if they were lambs or young birds. Tertullian, and notice, I mean, to be fair, we're getting farther and farther away from it, but that's not like these guys aren't historians. Carthaginians openly offered children to Saturn, and those who had no children would buy them from poor people and sacrifice them. Oh, but we should have left them alone. Oh, but God is so mean. God is so mean for sending the Israelites in there. Oh, my goodness. He's so mean. He's so mean. Why did he kill all those baby murderers? Which he didn't even kill them all, by the way. We're told that they actually get to live alongside the Israelites as long as they stop killing babies. So, yeah, I don't put up with any of this bullshit that, like, oh, God must be a bad person because he stopped this, buying children from poor people and slitting their throats on an altar to Baal. Yeah, so American says, it's also really cool to look into the origins of Yahweh and how he was originally part of the Canaanite pantheon as a storm god with a concubine. That is interesting, but like I said before, that's a word concept fallacy. So just because the name is the same, El, doesn't mean the concept is the same. So the concept of God, which is given in the Old Testament, in the Torah, could not possibly have a concubine because he's not a human, right? He's not a created being. He doesn't have a wife. So just because the Canaanite pantheon has the same word to describe this, like, El, that doesn't mean that the real El, the real God, came from that word, resembles that word, resembles anything about that God that they're worshiping. It's kind of like if I call, let's see, if I just decide to call Abraham Lincoln Donald Trump, like I just change Abraham Lincoln's name in my head to Donald Trump, then what you're saying is that I could make statements like, well, Donald Trump is a great president because Donald Trump freed all the slaves. Donald Trump actually started the Civil War for the purpose of emancipating the slaves, and he freed them all. And to you, if you're saying L and L are the same thing, that's a real sentence. That's like an actual sentence that makes sense, right? Which is ludicrous, of course. So it's called a word concept fallacy. It's when two words describe two, or it's when the same word describes two completely different concepts, right?
Evidence that Israelites worshipped the Canaanite god El is written into the name Israel itself.
Whoa. It is?
Including the name Israel itself.
Mind-blowing.
Which originally meant something like El rules.
El
Yes.
rules? Who rules?
The Canaanite high god, El. El rules.
Not the Canaanite high god, the Israelite high god. That's why they're Israelites. The Jewish high god, the monotheistic. Oh, okay, we already went through this. Word concept fallacy. Canaanites are Israelites. Yada, yada, yada. Story makes the people into the people. Okay, we can try that. I don't know what that is.
The original function of the story was to initiate people into an identity of being Israelite.
The Bible calls the first Israelites a mixed multitude.
From a mixed multitude of Canaanites into a unified, connected group of Israelites who were in the process of crystallizing into the people of Israel.
Wait, so you're refuting your earlier point that Israelites are Canaanites? So you're canceling out the entire point you made for the last 15 minutes about how there's no difference between an Israelite and a Canaanite? Excuse me? If the Israelites are crystallizing and forming into the Israelites, then they're obviously distinct from the other Canaanites. I mean, what? How is this an argument? Zoro. Okay, so I may be wrong, but I think there's an understanding on how it evolved over time into the current Jewish Yahweh over time, with the apocalyptic Judaism that Jesus believed coming from a mix with Zoroastrianism. You know, you could be right according to historical critical scholars, or you could be right according to history itself. Like, that's fine. But you're not right in terms of what the actual meaning of the word God is. So there's absolutely no sense in which the God of the Old Testament, the God of the Bible, is anything like a Zoroastrian God or this like Canaanite, storm god. And you just see that from the very first chapter. If you want to go to Genesis 1, we can see it. So actually, let's do that. So essentially, my argument is that anybody who reads Genesis 1 already is outside of worshiping any of these pagan gods. You can't. I mean, you can't read this and believe this and also be worshiping any other god. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So already, you're out. Zoroastrian gods exist in the heavens. Let's see, the El god, he exists with some kind of pantheon of things, a pantheon of other gods. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So that distinguishes him from any other god. He is the creator himself. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, and it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. So we're already getting a picture of something way, 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 way bigger than anything that the Zoroastrians have, or especially the Canaanites. I mean, more like the elements of the evil devil and hell come from Zoroastrianism and the idea of a good and bad force that battle on earth. Actually, you can see that right here. So good in Genesis 1:4 is already here. And God saw the light, that it was good. Well, good only makes sense if there's something that could be bad, right? That's not necessarily true, but so we haven't exactly seen evil yet, but he certainly didn't call the darkness good. So I don't think you have to say that the idea of good and evil came from the battle between good and evil came from Zoroastrianism. You can actually see it in Genesis 1:4. And if you take this a little bit more symbolically, like he divided the light from the darkness, right? So there is now this like tension between the two. There's two separate things, light and darkness. That's literal, but also that could be very spiritual, symbolic. So let's look up Zoroastrian origin creation story. Yeah, I'll just go to... So, first of all, there's already two versions, so Zoroastrianism is confused. Let's see. There's a concise view of the Zoroastrian's creation myth and of the first battles of the forces of Ahura Mazda and Angra Mainyu for the hegemony of the world. According to the text, in the first 3,000 years of the cosmic year, Ahura Mazda created the Fravashis and conceived the idea of his would-be creation. He is the insensible and motionless void as a weapon against Angra Mainyu, and at the end of the period, Angra Mainyu was forced to submit and fall into a stupor for the next 3,000 years. But see how these gods are already so much smaller than the god we just read about? So, first of all, Ahura Mazda and Angra Mainyu, they're already created. They're created by something. I mean, they're two distinct things. They're two things, and they apparently one or other could actually have more power than the other, like, and have hegemony of the world, or hegemony, I guess it's called. And then it's like it takes them time and they have to fight and they have to do stuff. And it's like, no. In the beginning, God. God is all there is. He created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void and darkness. And like I see what you're saying, like there's similarities. Oh, and then he used the motionless void as a weapon against remind you. But look what God did. He didn't use the void as some kind of weapon against some kind of thing he was fighting. He created everything out of the void. It's so much more powerful. It's so much different than any other pagan, fake god. The concept of hell and the devil did, I believe, again, I might be wrong. I'd be surprised. I think the concept of hell comes from the Bible itself, but maybe they pick up ideas, or maybe they pick up language more so from that stuff. But like the devil's already here in Genesis 3. So, I mean, the serpent is clearly the devil. So, you know, it's unclear. But let's get back to this idiot. The critical scholars are Christian. No, they're not. Why are Christians attacking the Bible? They're not. The problem with biblical inerrancy. I agree. Want to hear me say I never knew you? Interesting. What's that about?
Why is the inerrancy and the infallibility and the flawlessness of God's word
Again,
so
every
important?
single pastor.
Because, friends, if this book is not true...
Notice how every single person that he goes to like, that the devil goes to like, disprove the Bible, none of them are wearing a frock. None of them are wearing a collar. None of them are wearing anything religious at all. He's going to these evangelical pastors who interpret the Bible their own way without any overarching authority. So it's a straw man. This is not the steel man of Christianity. If the devil really wants to do a guide to the Bible, he should try to do one where he interviews Orthodox priests. Except they won't let him in the room because they're smarter than that. So again, this is a video that only applies to evangelicals. I don't know why that is. Actually, I do know why it is. It's because the devil isn't strong enough or smart enough to take down the actual church.
You're in a heap of trouble.
Hell-level trouble. And kids, you're stumbling. Be very careful about the things you're thinking. Do you want...
Oh, really? Jesus is saying that? Again, the blasphemy of, like, just creating this Jesus character and making him nothing like Jesus. Passage. Okay. Matthew 6:34. So let's see what fake Satan dumbass Jesus says. Because apparently Jesus agrees with Rick Warren, the evangelical pastor. Apparently Jesus abides by Rick Warren's theology.
Flawlessness of God's word so important. Because, friends, if this book is not true, you're in a heap of trouble.
Hell-level trouble. And kids, you're stumbling. Be very careful about the things you're thinking. Do you want to hear me say, I never knew ye?
Don't cast us aside.
We love you, Jesus.
Don't cast us, please.
We believe you, Jesus.
You are Lord.
Why does he look like that? She just said, "You're Lord." He said, "Don't cast us aside. We believe you, Jesus. We believe in you. Why are you angry at us? You are Lord." And the real Jesus, of course, would be thrilled. and say, I would never cast you aside. In fact, he'd say something like, therefore do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For all these things the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Okay. And then what does he say about children again? Okay, let's go to Matthew 18. Let's see, like, is Jesus like kind of mean to kids, and he like tells them they need to constantly be on their guard and worried about shit? At the time the disciples came to Jesus saying, who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? Then Jesus called a little child to him, set him in the midst of them, and said, assuredly I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever receives one little child like this in my name receives me. Wait, so Jesus hates the kids? Wait, so Jesus hates kids and he wants them to go to hell? And even when they say they believe in him and they love him and all this, and they humble themselves before him, Jesus wants them to go to hell? Yeah, nice fucking straw man, dude. Really, really great job. Let's read more about his take on children. Let's see if he would ever send any child to hell. Matthew 19:13. Then little children were brought to him that he might put his hands on them and pray. But the disciples rebuked him. But Jesus said, let the little children come to me, and do not forbid them, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. And he laid his hands on them and departed from there. Let the little children come to me, and do not forbid them. And what is this entire video? What is this entire video? It's trying to trick little children into running away from Jesus by creating this fake, blasphemous, whatever this is, idol, fake Satan Jesus, who apparently hates children. It's horrific. Now, I want the millstone quote as well, just so we know what's going to happen to this. If this video did, which I'm sure it did because it has 1.6 million views, lead any malleable children away from the truth, this is what's going to happen. Matthew 18:6. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Do you guys get that? Do you guys get that whoever made this video, it would literally be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depth of the sea? Jesus is badass, man. He doesn't mess around. He does not mess around if you're leading his little kids, his flock, astray. I'm glad he doesn't. I hate people that do that. Children are innocent and pure. And this type of video that just makes them afraid and anxious and worried. Like, imagine if you actually were a little Christian kid and you stumbled on this video. I don't know why you'd click it, Satan's Guide to the Bible. But imagine you did click it, or your stupid Reddit neckbeard uncle showed it to you or something like that. This would make you fearful of the man who loves you more than anything.
Well, okay then. I want everyone here to pray. Pray on this word. Ask me. I'll open your spiritual eye to the truth and trustworthiness of this holy word. Pray now. Oh, wait. Witness this, Satan. Discipline, morals. That's why parents send their kids here. Not because of any nerd history lesson. Parents send their children to church to learn good morals.
Is that what they're learning? Students, I got seminary secrets about biblical morals.
Oh, yeah, right. This will be good. It's seminary secrets about the true morals of Christianity. Look, if it's a secret, then it's not the morals they're learning, you dumbass.
Your math is slightly off there, Satan.
What math?
Math is hard. Jesus will help you. Without my book, there are no morals.
True.
Is it going to be the word or is it going to be the world?
That's a good point. Charlie, get down.
There's that beautiful psalm.
Psalm 137, Mrs. Reichholm.
Doctor,
Yeah, Doc. You're so smart, you don't even know what psalm this is.
I wish I could remember exactly which psalm it is, but it's the beautiful psalm.
It's Psalm 137.
And at the end of the psalm, they're dashing the babies' heads against rocks.
Okay.
My turn.
Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones.
Yeah. Wait, sorry. Was that Psalm 137? Because 100% you took that out of context. Charlie, what the fuck? This is not cool. The hell? She's never done it that many times in a row. Okay. 1000% they're taking this just way out of context. Psalm 137, longing for Zion in a foreign land. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yea, we wept. When we remembered Zion, we hung our harps upon the willows in the midst of it. For there those who carried us away captive asked of us a song, and those who plundered us requested mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget its skill. If I do not remember you, let my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth. If I do not exalt Jerusalem above my chief joy. Remember, O Lord, against the sons of Edom, the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it to its very foundation. O daughter of Babylon, who are to be destroyed, happy the one who repays you as you have served us. Happy the one who takes and dashes your little ones against the rock. Okay, so what's the problem with the psalm? What's the problem with the psalm exactly? I'm not sure who wrote this one, but so the context is obviously the ancient Israelites being taken captive by Babylon. Obviously, Babylon dashed their little ones against the rocks. And this is not a moral command. This is not even God talking. This is a dude. This is a person who's lamenting the fall of Jerusalem after being taken captive in a foreign land. So where here does God say that you should dash little ones' heads against rocks? Nowhere. Nowhere. The only thing that you might be able to say God is saying here is that when people are taken slaves in foreign lands, they want to kill the babies of the people that took them. Is that fair? Is that unfair? I mean, doesn't that actually kind of make sense that if Babylon came and dashed your child's head against a rock, that you as a person, as a human being, would want to do the same? But God doesn't say you can do that. God doesn't say that's morally acceptable. This is a psalm. It's a lamentation. It's a human emotion being expressed. This is not a moral law. And yet, of course, Satan goes, well, because without any context or reason or purpose, God actually put this in here, and therefore that's something that you should abide by morally, killing a baby. Oh, wait, except we talked about the first half hour about how it's wrong to kill babies and how God sent the Israelites into Canaan to stop the murder of babies. So this thing, it just refutes itself over and over again. Yeah, this is a good point. I did not realize the full context. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what this whole video is. It's taking tiny little clips from the Bible and from biblical scholars out of context, especially the pastor. I do feel bad. I'm shitting on the evangelical pastors because I've got a problem with them as well, I guess, in a way, basically interpreting the text in their very own way. But even those guys, the Satan is taking out of context. So they might even be making a better point than is presented here. But especially the biblical stuff is just totally out of context.
Baby smashing?
In the Bible?
Book of Psalms, Psalm 137. Everybody sings the first line of the psalm.
By the rivers of Babylon, where he sat down.
Nobody sings the last line.
Taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones.
Yeah, look how he just said, taketh and dasheth. Happy shall he be who taketh thy little one. It's like, he can't even give the context of the full sentence. Yeah, that's just retarded.
Metaphorical, perhaps?
No.
Toss me into the bosom of my stoner mom?
What?
It's ideas that you should have these babies and strike them up against rocks.
Who said you should? Who said anyone should do that?
To me, it's odious.
Yeah, it's odious to you because you didn't read it, idiot. It's odious. It's odious to me that words would be in a book. No, context does not matter. Words are in a book, and therefore it's odious.
Extremely unpleasant, repulsive.
Smashing babies qualifies.
It should not be called beautiful. It should not be celebrated in any way.
Who celebrates it? Who celebrates dashing kids? Who? Literally. Name one person. Name one Christian ever who well, maybe not ever. Name 10 Christians who celebrate. Actually, I would say that anyone that does celebrate killing kids is actually not even a Christian. They exclude themselves from that. So name one single Christian ever who has advocated for the murdering of children from a Christian framework. Ever. If that's how dumb you think people are, that they can't read this verse and understand exactly what it's talking about. I mean, and that guy's supposed to be a biblical scholar. That's why the scholars are almost worse than the evangelical pastors.
Fight again, Satan. I found someone on YouTube singing the last line.
Take your little ones and dash them against the rock.
You ever heard the term when you're taking a creative writing class or like a screenwriting class or book writing, kill your babies? Never heard of that? Kill your babies is a very common phrase that people use in creative writing, and it refers to a concept when you write something like a passage or a character that you really like at first, but then as you write the rest of the story, you realize it doesn't fit into the story. And so you think of this phrase, kill your babies, and unfortunately you have to kill your baby, the character or the chapter or the passage that you really liked, that you just have to delete from the book because it doesn't work. So it's not even like this couldn't be symbolic. In fact, we use the symbolism. And is every single creative writing teacher evil because they've said the word kill your babies? That's what this argument is. Saying every single creative writing teacher you've ever had is evil. They're evil because they've used words. They've used those words, kill your babies. They must be evil. They must be advocating the murder of children. If they said it, they must be advocating the murder of children. Thank you, Satan. Thank you for your wise teaching. So illuminating, Satan. You really are the smartest guy. Charlie, this is getting crazy. Why are you up here?
And so we just tend to repress or ignore those aspects of the Bible. But I think it would be more interesting to engage them.
I agree.
More interesting for who?
And I think
For people that aren't trying to be tricked.
what it would lead to is a deeper empathetic experience. We would understand the anger, we would understand the suffering, we would understand what they thought had been stolen from them in a much deeper way if we were willing to engage the horror that's present there.
Yeah.
And I think something similar could happen with engagement in the story of the Israelites moving into Canaan.
Definitely.
Serious horror fans, stay tuned, okay? A story filled with extreme horror. Next.
Previously in the Bible, God broed out with Abraham. He promised Abraham a ton of land, but the land was already filled with Canaanites.
Does a good God try and steal land?
My ways are higher.
If by
It's not stealing, dummy. Also, didn't we already do this point? Canaan recap? Literally, they ran out of ideas. They ran out of ideas, so they have to go back. I mean, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, maybe they'll read a few passages, but it doesn't. It's not like it cancels out our counter argument that the Canaanites were sacrificing children. I mean,
Make no treaty with them and show them no mercy.
yeah. Why would you? Why would you make treaty with murderers, child murderers, and much worse? If that's forgetting all the incest and all the other stuff. Why would you make treaty with them? Why would you show them any mercy? Would they show you mercy?
Do not intermarry with them.
Then why are all your boys sliding into my DMs?
Do not intermarrying with them, for that would turn away your children. Why are we doing it? It would turn.
Yeah, because then the wife is going to be a child murderer, and then you have a child, and what if she wants to murder your child? Pretty obvious, right? I mean, let me ask you, is it, so they're saying that it's wrong for God to tell Israelites not to marry Canaanites, the Canaanites that they're conquering. So is it wrong for me to tell you not to marry Ted Bundy? Like, if my sister fell in love with Ted Bundy, and I told her not to, would that actually make me a bad person because I don't trust Ted Bundy to take care of my sister? That's their argument. That's their point.
Turn away your children from following me to serve other gods. So ultimately, it's a covenantal thing. You know, maybe it's unfortunate, but we can't leave those people there. They're a bad influence.
And what are Israelites to do with them?
Kill them. Kill them all. Utterly.
Kill everyone?
False. I can't
They
believe
deserve
that's
it.
a historical scholar. That is so wrong. It's not kill everyone. It's harem. It's harem. We've talked about this in a lot of contexts. CHEREM or HEREM. If people want to look it up. But briefly, harem is a type of language that's used all throughout the ancient world that describes the total obliteration, annihilation, destruction of people. And the way it's always phrased is that you kill you kill all the men, you leave no woman and child alive, right? But what do we read in the next chapter? That there's plenty of women and children running around. There's plenty of men running around, plenty of Canaanites. And if you look at history, the Babylonians launched harem, the Assyrians. Every culture has these harem statements in their history, in their steles, in their texts. But what they never actually do is kill all the women and children because it's symbolic of a political victory. When you launch a harem, you are upending the political structure in a land. You are totally and definitely conquering the land. Not to mention the cities that they attacked are fortress cities. So the women and children would, if they saw an attack coming, would have been pushed out to like suburban sort of villages and towns. So if you're going to kill everybody in a fortress city, you actually have to do that. That's the military force. So yeah, that's just a straw man. That's just completely wrong by this historical scholar. But that one atheist guide to the Bible. Also, yes, it's hyperbolic. Exactly. Yeah, T-Bird Dog. Yeah, we're just going through Satan's Guide to the Bible. It's written by some fat Reddit neckbeard atheist. Clearly has a thing for kids, I guess. He wanted to put it in terms of like a bunch of little kids and leading them astray and stuff. So, you know, my advice to him is I think it would be better if he tied a millstone around his neck and sunk to the bottom of the depths of the sea. But you know, everyone does what they want to do, so good for him. So far we've debunked, I think, and people in my chat can let me know, I think we've debunked every single point they've made so far. We're about half hour in. It's taken almost an hour and a half, but that's totally cool. And we're just debunking this point here about Joshua.
Our pastor skipped this part of the Bible.
It's shocking.
Like baby smashing? Somebody remind me who the good guys are?
This is not, a matter of, integrate.
Are you saying, oh wait, so the good guys, because remember the fat Reddit neckbeard atheist is the one writing the lines for the little kids. So he's like, could somebody remind me who the good guys are? It's like, oh, so are you saying the good guys are the people that are sacrificing the children? The people that are sacrificing the children are the good guys then, if the Israelites aren't, right? Dumbass. Yeah, no one's buying this shit. This lady, I don't know, I guess she's a scholar, but she doesn't even know about harem, which is atrocious. I mean, that's untenable. Yeah. Anyway, we'll keep going. On a real note, one thing I would appreciate is you going to Pelagius's YouTube and try to debunk his videos one day, because he is one of the big reasons I deconstructed my faith. Oh, we can do that right now. I mean, I'm getting a little bit annoyed and done with these kids. Joshua slaughters more Canaanites. Did God really slaughter the Canaanites? Man, they really spent a lot of time on that. Wait, let's go to the golden rule. Let's see how the devil debunks the golden rule.
Objections to genocide may be grounded in various ways, but most, I would think, come back to some form of the golden rule.
Golden rule. I know that one.
Jesus invented it.
All things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them.
That we should do unto others as we would have them do unto us. Christians may regard this maxim as a summary of the teaching of Jesus, but some form of it can be found in most religions, and ultimately it is a humanistic principle.
Wait. What do you mean ultimately it's a humanistic principle? It's the exact opposite of a humanistic principle. That's why all the religions need to tell us about it. That's crazy. That is like humanism, which did not exist until 200 years ago. It's actually a principle of humanism, the golden rule, even though it didn't exist, even though the golden rule existed thousands of years before humanism. How is that even, that sentence didn't even make sense. The golden rule is a product of humanism. Wait, but humanism existed after the golden rule? So actually, isn't humanism a product of the golden rule? And isn't the golden rule a product of religion, like you just said? So isn't humanism actually a product of religion and impossible without religion? Dummy.
That. The golden rule is a humanistic principle. No book needed.
You need the Bible. Jesus invented it.
But
yeah.
Jesus was after Krishna, after Buddha, after the Stoics.
But they didn't invent the golden rule, so that's the problem. Okay. Hey, what's up? Welcome, brother. Welcome. That's in my Discord over there. I didn't open the Discord, but I could. I'd be willing to. I think we did a lot of work. I think we did good work about this. I mean, this is the most replayed. Should we look at that?
Up to this point, we've borne witness to the Bible's errant history, immoral morals, and dubious authorship claims.
None of those, absolutely none of those have been substantiated, by the way. Just assert that you've, debunked the history, debunked the morality, which you didn't at all. I'm sure you didn't debunk the authorship, but if he's just going to say there's multiple authors, duh, we all know it, idiot. It also doesn't even matter who it's written by. But
for this final round, my opponent is not Jesus' errant book. My opponent is the errant Jesus.
Whoa. For real?
Ha, that's just fantastic. First, you would have my followers believe that my book is errant. And now you would have them also believe their Jesus was errant too?
Jesus was never not perfect.
You saying Jesus was wrong about something?
I have over about a dozen chapters of things I think he did
the
wrong.
bad Jesus. Look at this dummy. I'm going to write a book. It's going to be called The Bad Jesus. the Ethics of New Testament Ethics. What a retarded title. Yeah, dude, I'm sure you found the errancy with Jesus. You're bad. What if Jesus bad? But what if Jesus bad? What if I use the word ethics twice in the title? Bad Jesus? Let's see. This is going to be nothing. I guarantee you. Absolutely nothing.
I got a dozen chapters on that guy going straight to hell.
Fry him.
Silencing Dr. Avalos won't put an end to an errant Jesus. Seminary.
Jesus didn't silence him. He's on this stupid video talking. So Jesus isn't afraid of bad arguments. He just lets them happen because they are countered by good arguments, which we'll do right now.
Have long taught a Jesus who was wrong.
What about the cemeteries?
For 100+ years, Christian seminaries have been teaching an errant Jesus.
The cemeteries say I'm wrong?
Spectacularly wrong.
Where? What subject? Apocalypticism?
Lol. These guys are idiots. They actually think he's wrong about this.
Apocalypticism.
Apocalypticism?
Apocalypticism was a popular worldview among Jews in the first century. Such Jews believed they were living at the end of time.
Some truly good people.
Guess what? They were. Weren't they? Didn't time completely change after Jesus? Weren't they literally living at the end of the BC era? Time ticking down to 0 and then restarting? So, wait, they were wrong about living at the end of time, but they actually lived at the end of time. Oh, strange. Oh, really strange, Bart Ehrman.
People got a little too wild with the apocalypticism.
Lot more than some. All the top players did. Yet most people think it's only kooks and nutters predicting the end of the world. Instead, failed apocalyptic prophecies have been offered up by the biggest stars of the Christian faith.
All evangelicals. Only evangelicals. This is dispensationalism. It's disproven. It's wrong. There aren't special dispensations. All the prophecies of the New Testament that refer to a specific time already happened. Okay?
It's Billy Graham. He predicted the end?
Yeah, Billy said the end would come before 1952.
So Billy Graham is the, why not go to the Orthodox Church? Oh, I know why. Because they're not actually trying to build a good case. They're not actually trying to steel man the argument. But if you go to the Orthodox Church, all of these problems are solved. And probably most of them by the Catholic as well. All of these. This is a video designed to attack evangelical children. Evangelical retards and children. So if you're not one of those, then this video really doesn't apply to you. If you are one of those, I'm sorry for calling you retarded. But this is exactly why you need to shore up your theology and what you actually believe. Otherwise, you're subject to these kind of stupid arguments like, well, the apocalypse didn't happen yet, but Jesus said that you will. Let's go to the part where Jesus says that you will see me. There, okay, here it is. Matthew 16:28. I'm sure they're going to bring this up because they're so predictable. I can already see what they're doing. Okay. Then Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man will come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he will reward each according to his works. Assuredly, I say to you, there are some standing here, disciples, there are some standing here, so who are they? He's talking to his disciples, who shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Okay? What's up, Vrindavan? We're deconstructing this Satan's Guide to the Bible and debunking every single point Satan makes because he's retarded. Okay, so then what happens next? Okay, there are some standing here who shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. And you would go, oh, and dumb evangelicals and Satan go, well, that must be talking about the end of the world. Well, Jesus must be talking about the end of the world. So why did the world not end? Because of the next verse, idiots, literal dummies. Now, after 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John, led them up on a high mountain by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with him. Then Peter answered and said to Jesus, Lord, is it good for us to be here? If you wish, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and suddenly a voice came out of the cloud, saying, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their faces and were greatly afraid. But Jesus came and touched them and said, "Arise, and do not be afraid." When they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Jesus only. Now as they came down the mountain, Jesus commanded them, saying, Tell the vision to no one until the Son of Man is risen from the dead. And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then do the scribes say that Elijah must come first? Jesus answered and said to them, Indeed, Elijah is coming first and will restore all things. But I say to you, Elijah has come already. And they did not know him, but did to him whatever they wished. Likewise, the Son of Man is also about to suffer at their hands. Then the disciples understood that they spoke to them of John the Baptist. So, there are some of standing here who shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. This is the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. It actually happens. And it happens in the next verse. And it doesn't refer to some crazy apocalypse like Ken Ham thinks, or whatever the evangelical preachers are that push that shit. So yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, this video is meaningless, pointless.
Humans gonna human.
Mr. Protestant Christianity himself had the end coming before 1600.
Look how everything is about Protestantism. They literally have not said a single word about Catholicism or Orthodoxy because none of these arguments hold up against Catholicism or Orthodoxy. They haven't said a single word. There's not been one mention of an actual church.
Columbus said it would end in 1501.
Columbus? Seriously?
Francis of Assisi, lots of popes. St. Patrick of St. Patty's Day fame.
Game Clover.
3rd century Christian star Hippolytus of Rome. 2nd century's Tertullian.
Who, and who?
And listening to you, Jesus. You got a little too wild with the apocalypticism, didn't you?
And you got a little blah, blah, blah with the blah, blah, blah.
Did you not preach a 1st century ending?
Did you?
Did it not happen? Did Jerusalem not fall? This has 1.6 million views, Brindavan, unfortunately. And I don't know what the dislike to like ratio is, but the comments seem to suggest that people are actually buying this shit. He did not approach the topic respectfully at all. He has Jesus doing horrific things on the... Man, it's just crazy that people actually think this is a good video that makes sense. It's a horrible video. It makes no sense.
You not preach a 1st century ending?
Jesus was not a false prophet.
You calling Jesus a liar?
Also, Jesus preached a 1st century ending to the temple, the 2nd temple, and that actually happened. So if you're calling Jesus a liar, why don't you actually bring up what he taught about and when that thing that he predicted actually happened?
Pay no heed to Satan. Close your ears to his words. Slanderous.
No, don't close your ears. Just read Jesus's actual words. Actually, why don't you just go read Jesus's words and then read history and see if they actually line up? And guess what? It lines up perfectly. I mean, I could prove it to you if you want, but I'm going to see if they actually make a claim so we can address the specific claim instead of this just like this sort of assertion that Jesus did this and that it didn't come true without any evidence. They provided zero evidence. Literally only children could possibly buy this argumentation. But apparently there's a lot of children on YouTube. A lot of little kids. Verndevan says, do you think internet videos like this have caused increases in atheism? Yes, but fortunately, on the other end, different videos have caused increases in Christianity and decreases in atheism, which is great. So
Deceitful, deadly words. People will burn because of your lies, Satan.
I invent nothing. Christian seminaries teach it.
Sorry, Satan, but that's beyond plausible.
Which part?
Christian seminaries teaching Jesus, making failed prophecies?
Failed apocalyptic prophecies.
Some of them that stand here.
End of the world prophecies?
That failed to come to pass.
What are you
Christian
talking about?
seminaries
Just
teach
name
that?
one.
About Jesus?
Instead of this like fake kids, like what is the fake kid shit? Do you think you're tricking us or that we don't understand how this video is made? Just say what they are.
That's a seminary secret?
The biggest one. Jesus told his followers the end would happen soon.
And soon didn't happen.
That's the seminary's biggest secret.
The end of the Second Temple period did happen soon. So
If Jesus said that it would be soon and it didn't happen, then he was wrong about that.
Jesus was wrong?
There's no scriptural proof for anything.
wait, so you took half of a sentence from one guy that started with the word if? The guy didn't even say Jesus said this and then it didn't happen and that, therefore he's wrong. He said if Jesus said that and he was wrong, then there you go. But he didn't say Jesus did say that, and they certainly didn't give us the scripture of what he actually said. That's wild. Why am I getting blown up right now? Okay, that's actually wild. Overall, atheism is on the rise, though. I'm not sure about that. I think there's going to be a reversal in the next few years. Atheism has been on the rise for the last, like, probably 6 decades. I think the 20th century belonged to Satan. But we're seeing a revival in terms of both spirituality and Christianity throughout the world, especially in the West. So I wouldn't be too sure that atheism is on the rise.
Thing that you're saying.
It's not in the Bible.
Jesus' failed prophecies are in the Bible.
Let's see them.
Hiding in plain sight.
What
Let's
verse?
see it.
Where?
I'm going to show
It's
you.
not in the Bible.
Hey, first things first. Let's look at the reason this whole gigantic Christian thing got rolling.
Shout out to me.
Because Jesus.
Jesus is the reason.
Which leads us to the most important event for all Christians.
The resurrection.
It's the single biggest event in the Bible. It's the reason for Christianity.
The resurrection.
It's Jesus' resurrection. The Bible says Jesus of Nazareth was resurrected from the dead. Oh, no way, you say? The Bible says Jesus' tomb is empty. His body vanished.
Yeah, sure.
Of Jesus' resurrection comes from Christianity's number 2 man, the guy with the most books in the New Testament.
Wait.
Comes from
No mention of an empty tomb.
The oldest mention of Jesus' resurrection comes from Christianity's number 2 man, the guy with the most.
Yeah, but where did he learn it from? Who were his teachers? Who were his bishops? It was the disciples, idiot. So even if the disciples wrote their testament, their gospel accounts later, Paul couldn't have known any of this except from learning it from the actual disciples. So if you're going to say, well, Paul's the oldest mention of the empty tomb, what's the oldest mention to him of the empty tomb? And also, when did Paul start writing? Like less than 10 years after Jesus' death? So a legitimate historical source for an empty tomb. The disciples actually saw it themselves with their own eyes, and they're obviously the ones that told Paul about it. So you can't just say like, oh, well, the earliest mention was before Luke or whatever. Who cares? It wasn't. Luke himself would have been the earliest not Luke, I don't know, any of the disciples.
Books in the New Testament. Paul never mentions, not once, the empty tomb.
Welcome, Numenon. So Brindavan asked, do you believe the resurrection actually happened, like, physically? Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that's undeniable. I think it's borne out by the history, by the theology. It makes the most sense. You have to believe that that happened. If not, this isn't why I believe it, but if to be a Christian, you must believe in the actual physical resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. And if you're some sort of, like, spiritualist that says God is real, but that Jesus didn't physically rise from the dead, I would just ask you, why wouldn't God physically rise him? Like, if God is real, he's all-powerful, he can do anything he wants. Why would you make God smaller than he has to be? Vrindavan says, doesn't it break the laws of physics, though? Well, yeah, that's what God is. He can break any law of physics that he wants. So to me, breaking the laws of physics doesn't... God isn't confined by the laws of physics. He's bigger than the laws of physics. That's what makes him God. He's outside the system. Physics is a tool that we use to describe the system that we live in, inside the system, but God is outside the system. So if he wants to like poke his nose in and do anything and mess around with the physics, well, he created the physics to begin with, so of course he could do that. So no, I don't think it actually breaks the laws of physics, or it doesn't break the higher law that bounds physics itself. Numenon says, critical scholarship is kind of sad, not going to lie. Their hermeneutical method already assumes that the text can be interpreted with the assumption that the texts weren't inspired by the same spirit. 100% agree. Great point, Numenon. If the texts were inspired by the same spirit, each text can be used to interpret other texts instead of examining them independently. Basically, critical scholarship is all about external critiques. Yeah. No, critical scholarship is just wrong, and it's the wrong hermeneutic. And it leads to this type of video being produced. This really just misleading, false mom gets left behind. Also, most of them is just emotional things. Like the first entire like hour of this is about the Canaanite slaughter, but it doesn't address at all the nuance of it or the context of it. So this shit sucks. Nice try, Satan. You didn't get us this time. I'm happy to go back and refute any other points or refute any point you guys want to hear refuted in more depth. American did ask me to go to Paulogia on YouTube. Oh, no, not that. Here's Paul Silo. Okay. Paulogia. 10 physical proofs of Bible stories that still exist today. What should I watch? Oh, this could be interesting, considering we just did this.
I may have bit off more than I could chew today. I think I did, actually.
That's not a very confident start, Mike.
I guess I've been a dumb, and now I'm going to become a skeptic like you, and we can take over the internet with our atheisms or something like that.
Do I believe that heaven physically exists? Well, it depends on what you mean. So I think there are immaterial sort of heavens, like places that the angels occupy. So physical, not quite. But do I believe there will be a physical kingdom of heaven, the New Jerusalem, at the end of this whole story? Yeah, I do believe it's a physical, like we'll have physical bodies when we're resurrected. I believe that's you know, what we're told. Numenon says, if I knew an author made 10 books, I would use each book as context to understand the other books whenever something is unclear. Likewise, if the Bible is dictated by the same God, each book can be used to understand unclear passages in other books. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so they just ignore that hermeneutic. But that's because their hearts are closed. That's because their hearts are closed, unfortunately.
This is an unexpected turn of events.
Let's look at it in more detail without cartoon images.
Without cartoons? That's a burn on you, Paul.
On me. Take a look at...
Yeah, why is it that atheists are always afraid to show their faces and use their real names? That's what I'm curious about. Pretty much every atheist, like the ones that made the Satan video and this Paulogia and a bunch of other ones. I know there are a few that will show their face, but why are they... Is it an insecurity? They don't feel confident? Or, I don't know. I wonder why that is.
Look at yourself, Brady.
Well, I guess there, but by the grace of God went I.
And I decided to do it as the first question today, which may have been a mistake. Probably was a mistake. Definitely was a mistake. All right.
Welcome to Apologia, where a former Christian takes a look at the claims of Christians. Or today, two former Christians taking a look at the complaints of a Christian about...
Verdemont says, I mean, Sam Harris and Ricky Gervais do show their faces. Yeah, but that's because they were already public figures before they decided to jump on this atheism thing. Maybe Sam Harris really made his name in the atheism game, in the new atheism game. But yeah, I mean, I'll give him credit. There are definitely a few atheists that aren't afraid to put their name on that and their face. But it's mostly these like YouTube apologists. Like, there's almost no Christian apologist on YouTube that's at like my level or even a little bit higher or much higher who's afraid to show their face. And yet we have like Paul Logia, we have that Satan video. There's other ones. I don't know why that is. And I can't think of a Christian one who does this kind of like insecurity thing where they make like a fake buff, cartoon of themselves to speak about anything. I don't know why people actually do that, but probably fear of getting canceled at their job. Yeah, but if anything, the Christian is the one that could get canceled, not the atheist. It's totally mainstream normie to be an atheist. Christians actually have opinions that differ from society, whereas atheists don't. So, for instance, like if I come out about my Christian belief that abortion is wrong, I'll face more cultural backlash than the atheist who just goes along with whatever society believes because that's actually what their morality is based in. Yeah, I get nuance. I think Paul just shows his face, but I get why someone would find it personal not to show their face. Yeah, I'm just the only comment I'm making. It's not about any individual. It's just that in general, it seems like atheists are more cowardly.
About the claims of Satan, because today I'm joined by founding member of the Grammy-nominated Christian rap group, The Cross Movement.
It started in the garden where hearts got hardened. We fell into a deep sleep and just kept falling.
Some know him as Fanatic, but I know him as Brady Goodwin, fellow ex-Christian and Facebook counter-apologist extraordinaire. Welcome, Brady.
Glad to be with you, Paul.
I'll confess, I rarely watch counter-Christian videos because all my time is taken watching Christian videos. But every once in a while, one breaks through and I just have to watch. Even more rarely, there's a video that I wish I had made. And I'm telling you...
That tells you everything you need to know about Paul Logia. I mean, it is his style. It's like hide behind a mask. Make sort of smarmy comments, not taking the full account.
My heart breaks that I didn't make Satan's Guide to the Bible, but I'll let YouTube pastor Mike Winger describe it to you.
There is a dangerous video gaining popularity called Satan's Guide to the Bible that illustrates a pretend children's Sunday school class learning from Satan as their substitute teacher.
I like it already.
He claims that pastors keep secrets from their congregants, but that he will reveal those secrets and tell them the truth.
I'm here to reveal, peacefully, hidden Bible secrets.
Bible secrets?
None of us will believe your secrets.
There are, of course, other witnesses to these Bible secrets. One of the witnesses everyone here trusts.
Who?
Your pastor.
Pastor Mark knows these Bible secrets too?
He does. Like lots of pastors, he learned a bunch of Bible secrets at seminary.
And he won't share them with us?
He's keeping secrets.
This is great, because this Satan character is doing the very thing the serpent did in the...
Okay, what do you think about Katy Perry and her journey of going from singing at churches to going full modern feminism? I didn't know Katy Perry was a church singer. I actually didn't know that. So if that's, I'm just assuming that she was like nominally Christian, some kind of evangelical. I think her journey to becoming a feminist shill or whatever she is and having tons of plastic surgery and making meaningless songs with no content and just sort of like pop, sounds and lyrics and stuff actually makes sense. If you have no faith, if you have no depth of love and connection to God, you have no creativity, then that's just what happens. You get hollowed out as a person. You become more and more plastic, more and more fake. Because you're not connected to the true source of life and personhood, which is God. So, yeah, I think it's really sad if she did go from singing at churches. I would say she probably never had a very full faith, if that was the case. She was. It sounds like she was singing at probably evangelical churches and things like that. But if you lose it that easily and you lose it in the face of just like fame and money, I would wonder if you ever really had it, to be honest.
The Garden of Eden, accusing the presumed good guy of keeping secrets.
Yep,
but
that's
what
true.
they go on to point out is that the serpent and Satan don't get conflated into the same character until much.
Werner Brown says she had literally said she did a deal with the devil because the religious stuff wasn't making enough money. Yeah, that's about as demonic as it gets, right? That's about as satanic. So I pray for Katy Perry. I pray for her return to the flock and for God to bring her back and open her eyes and for her to rebuke the devil and spit on him and turn away from him. That's what I would pray for. And I pray that she doesn't lead any other young women or people down that path, although she may have. So I can't judge her, but I do pray for her.
Much later in the evolution of the Bible's twisting narrative, it's like they're preparing you to think critically from the jump.
So they're keeping them from you. But guess what? Don't worry, scholars, these objective, really smart people who are only ever interested in truth, unlike every other human being who has a bunch of mixed motives in everything they do.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you the real truth.
Every human being has mixed motives, even Mike. Good to know.
The
it's true.
anti-intellectualism from evangelicals never ceases to be depressing.
Can you please analyze this video and refute its false claims about the Bible?
It's interesting that this person is not asking if the claims are true, but whether or not Mike can take time to refute the claims that the questioner already knows are false.
Yeah, because they are false. They must be.
Guess if you're gonna be hopelessly biased, you might as well announce it at the start.
They'll tell us what Pastor Mark learned in seminary?
They will. The biblical scholars will tell you the Bible secrets.
Surprisingly, none of this is new to me. It's true there that this is known stuff. This is not new. But this is very much a storytelling type of thing that's happening.
The documentary doesn't claim that these things are new. The claim is that these things aren't shared with the average Christian.
Yeah, except that all the stuff it ends up talking about is 100% talked about in church and Bible studies and Sunday school. So I think Mike's point stands.
At least not until they're already so invested that it's almost too late to turn back.
Too late? Wait, isn't this guy supposed to be a Christian, Braden? Or am I, like, tripping?
It was very much part of my journey and why this video rings so powerfully for me and others. When I started learning about all these nuances and background facts that make the Bible seem more like a fully human book than a divine one,
yeah, I've written about there are Sunday schools. Yeah, all over. I mean, every church has a Sunday school for the kids to learn stuff, and that's not bad. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's wrong if the devil is teaching the Sunday school. But I think it's great for the kids to learn stories and not have too much, theology and like sin dumped on them, and just learn sort of VeggieTales style what went on in the Bible. And yeah, to Numenon, I think Numenon says, I actually think skepticism towards experts and authorities is actually the right thing, especially in a philosophical context. Like, totally, yeah. That little comment, like, the anti-intellectualism of Christians will never cease to amaze me. And it's like, dude, you're supposed to be skeptical. Like, that is what the scientific method is. It's just, like, extreme skepticism. Charlie, get out of here. What the hell? All day with this.
You're doing really well now, but didn't you release a CD like almost 10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I released a gospel record when I was 15 because I grew up in, a household where all I ever did was listen to gospel music, and my parents are both traveling ministers, and so I kind of sang about, what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
Damn. Oh my goodness. That's so sad. The way she said it too, so I sold my soul to the devil.
I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
Oh, jeez. How sad. Oh, I pray for Katy Perry. I do. That's horrible. Oh yeah, but to Numenon's point, yeah, I mean, the entire scientific process, the academic process, is skepticism. So of course we should be skeptical of scholars, especially scholars that are using the wrong hermeneutic, as you already pointed out, are starting from a sort of a false standpoint of this can all be explained naturally. This text, which is explicitly about supernatural phenomena, can all be explained naturally, and this is how. So it's acknowledging their bias, I think, is necessary if you're going to interact with their work. If you don't acknowledge their bias and you interact with their work, then you think what you're reading just must be true, and it denies the Bible, denies any sort of supernatural claims. So,
and to my pastor, my professors, and they casually dismissed my surprise with Mike's blasé, yeah, we know attitude. So why didn't they tell me? The responses were variations of most people can't handle it, or it would cause doubt. And yeah, that's the point. I felt betrayed by leaders who were falsely and confidently misrepresenting the strength of their position.
Yeah, but that doesn't address the actual argument. Okay, so I get that you feel betrayed. Oh, I feel betrayed. I feel hurt. I feel like my spiritual leader was not smart enough or strong enough to tell me the position. But that doesn't mean the actual position is wrong. That just means your leader was going about something wrong. So if you then went to a better leader, or if your leader then told you about what this happened, what it means that the Canaanites were invaded. Although, again, I mean, are atheists, do they think we're this dumb that they're saying, like, we normal parishioners are never told about Joshua slaughtering the Amalekites? It's like, yes, we are. I remember reading that when I was a kid and not really even having many questions about it. You know what I mean? So, like, this is just false that pastors and priests are just leaving out giant chunks of the Bible. Every single thing in that Satan's Guide to the Bible, like, I had learned about in Sunday school. Even VeggieTales does a thing where Joshua marches around Jericho and the walls go down, you know? Like, that's just, it's fallacious.
In a lot of areas of life, the cover-up is more damaging than the crime. That intellectual...
Right, so what's the crime? That's the question. So what is the actual crime? Oh, wait, there is none? Oh, great. Then the cover-up is worse than the crime, but there was no crime, so...
betrayal is a major reason I feel the responsibility to do what I currently do on this channel.
Amen to all of that.
They're using, like, Hector Avalos and Bart Ehrman, who are basically atheists and agnostics, effectively atheists in their beliefs about God, and others who would not be considered Christians by Christianity, by, like, you know, Orthodox Christian values about believing in the death and resurrection of Christ, about believing basically in God.
Sorry, Dale Allison. Mike Winger just revoked your invite to the Christian cookout.
And so it's
yeah.
standard stuff.
If you don't believe in the death and resurrection of Christ, you're just not a Christian. I hate to break it to you.
Really, we're just hiding it from the congregants. Pastors, people like myself, we're hiding it from you guys.
I'm sorry to keep chiming in, but this guy is just unbelievable. He's trying to make it seem like this depiction of how Christian leaders function is not believable. But just like you, Paul, I lived it. My experience was, I learned most of these Bible secrets after seminary. And when I contacted one of my former professors, he informed me of how many other seminary graduates come back to him with the same story. And
dude, where are these people going to seminary? What kind of... They go into retardseminary.edu? Like, how could you I didn't even go to seminary. I just took a theology course, and I learned all of this stuff. Like, what? Where are these people going? They're going to, like, I don't know, atheist satanist seminary.com and then getting their fucking pastoral degrees. That's ridiculous.
And then he essentially told me, now that you know these things, Brady, if you can find a way to still believe, then you'll be a mature Christian. It was like he was welcoming me into a secret society that I wasn't sure I wanted to be a part of.
They're teaching Bart stuff to everyone?
Anyone who has gone at least through, I would say, a master's level would be well aware of every argument that Bart Ehrman has ever presented It's standard stuff.
And yet
Yeah.
most pastors who've gone through that training don't tell their congregations what it is that they've learned.
So you get the idea. It's standard stuff. Now, what's interesting is if you actually got, say, James White, who they quote as their source for its standard stuff in seminary, then he would have then told you, and so are the arguments against it.
Against it,
See, these
exactly.
arguments aren't standard stuff that is uncontroversial amongst all scholars.
Yep.
Right?
I have thoughts, but let's let him say a bit more.
You don't have thoughts. I've heard you talk for 3 seconds, and I know that you don't have thoughts. But anyway.
The arguments against these things should also be standard stuff if you're doing a robust educational environment
Of
in
course.
your seminary.
Yeah.
You're going to say, yeah, here's an argument against the book.
And by the way, the arguments that Bart Ehrman puts forward only apply to people who don't want to believe. But if people are in your church and you're a pastor, the assumption is not that they need to be converted. It's that they need to be told the gospel, right? So what's the problem here? Like, is every pastor supposed to provide the anti-apologetic to the sermon he's giving that week? That makes no sense. Like, what do you expect pastors to do? Now, if a parishioner comes and says, I'm having trouble with this belief, then of course it's on the pastor to say, yes, that's the classic argument from Bart Ehrman and from all these other people, scholars and academics, and this is the counter argument. But that's on a pastoral individual level. Why would you ever, ever, ever bring Bart Ehrman up in your sermon on Sunday? I mean, that would be blasphemous. That would make no sense. And it's not to hide things from people and make sure that they don't, find out the truth. It's like, no, there's an order of how important things are. And the gospel is the most important thing to be talking to people about in a Sunday sermon. And the actual message of Christ. And you also assume that the people already believe. That's crazy. To Vrindavon, I attend church every Sunday. So I could go more. I should go more. I don't want to get too into my personal denomination because I'm going through a change right now. But yeah, I go to church every Sunday, and in the future it might be more than that. Yeah, that's my current record. So yeah, I think Pelogia is a low tier atheist. It's always just reusing already known arguments. Yeah, that's true. We were asked by American to watch a Pelogia video, so I'm happy to engage that. Yeah, I don't know if he's low tier. I think atheism itself is low tier. So it's like practitioners and defenders they can only rise to the level of what atheism allows them to argue about. But like they can't believe in knowledge, they can't believe in logic, they can't believe in any transcendental category coherently. So fundamentally their worldview is incoherent. So of course their arguments as they come down are also going to be incoherent. So as far as atheists go, I think Pelosia is probably up there. Vrindavon says, do you think America can survive as an atheist country? No. I don't think any country will survive as an atheist country. Just look at Russia, China, North Korea. I don't know what else. You could look at Germany in the 40s. You could look at what's happening to Europe now. England, France, Spain. When you lose your religion, then you lose your backbone as a country. You lose your moral structure, and you start doing horrific things. So China is growing, yeah, but interestingly, China is also the fastest growing Christian country. So there are millions and millions and millions and millions of Christians in China now. It's just that the government is atheistic. So if you look at China under Chairman Mao, where it was more so enforced, the atheism, the regime, the communism, then you had famine killing 100 million people. So if that to you is surviving as a country, then I think we have different definitions of that. But yeah, so China may be growing now, but it's only to the extent that they've lessened their persecution of religion and Christianity. Now, they still do persecute Christians aggressively. which is amazing that it's actually growing there. And they also sort of enforce, I think they sort of enforce reproduction in a way there, but I'm not an expert on that. I couldn't get into it too much. So yeah, and I think just simple growth is not really a metric of like survival as a country, because China's thing was they had to do the one child policy because they were growing too quickly. And of course, that's the most horrific policy you could possibly imagine. They would have soldiers standing in an operating room, in a delivering room, as the baby was being delivered, and the soldier would beat the baby to death in front of the parents if it was their second child. Economic growth, yeah, that's true. I also don't think economic growth is the only metric by which you can measure these things, measure survival of a country. Because again, the country can grow and grow and grow, but if the civilians decide to revolt and not abide by the laws anymore there, then suddenly the country's dead, but it has all these resources, and that'll all get sort of spread around and separated and stuff like that. People were involuntarily castrated in India as well. Wow, that is wild. I didn't know that. When did that happen, Rendavan? That's insane. But yeah. So I don't think those policies are at all humane or right or good. An atheist, though, however, has no reason to say that they're wrong. So that's where we're at.
Book of Daniel. Here's one for it. Here's the two sides of the coin.
Okay, this is actually a good point. Well, kinda. It's not that evangelical fundamentalist Christians don't have answers to these challenges presented in Satan's Guide to the Bible. Their answers are standard too. But then, so are the critical responses to those answers. And on and on.
Yeah, Numenon says birth rates tend to decline in secular countries to the point that it's unsustainable. Economic growth will also collapse with the birth rate due to a lack of workers. Yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly right. And yeah, you can see that pretty clearly. Secular countries have piss poor birth rates. You know, the not that it's explicitly secular, but one of the most egregious is Japan right now. Like, they just might not even exist in 10 years. Charlie, why? What are you doing? Look at this. This is the 10 millionth time. She never does this. What is going on? Okay. Wow. India's dark history of sterilization. The drive to sterilize began in the 1970s when, encouraged by loans amounting to tens of millions of dollars from the World Bank, the Swedish International Development Authority, and the UN Population Fund. Ugh, that's so creepy. This is also so creepy. The Swedish International Development... Like, what are a bunch of Swedish guys doing coming into India and sterilizing all your women? Sanjay Gandhi, son of the former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, began what was described by many as a gruesome campaign to sterilize poor men. There were reports of police cardoning off villages and virtually dragging the men to surgery. Wow. An astonishing 6.2 million Indian men were sterilized in just a year, which was 15 times the number of people sterilized by the Nazis. This was in the 70s. India has a dark history of state-sponsored population control, often with eugenic aims, targeting the poor and underprivileged. Hey. Okay. Okay, even though... Wow, this is crazy. They carried out nearly 4 million sterilizations during 2013 and 2014. Yeah, they're cats, though, so they land on their feet. And it was onto my bed, so she's all right. And she's right back for more. Less than 100,000 of these surgeries were done on men. More than 700 deaths were reported due to botched surgeries between 2009 and 2012. There were 300. That's wild, man. Charlie, Seriously. Like, what do I have to do here? That's wild. Tubectomies. Okay, I did not know this. I mean, somehow this just absolutely went under the radar over here. Yeah, the involuntary ones are the wild ones.
It could go. It seems like Mike won't be happy until the entire ongoing conversation is reproduced by those looking to highlight that there's more to the story than what most pastors are letting on. But then, why doesn't he complain that pastors are not giving both sides on Sunday morning?
Because
is
why
he
would
okay
they?
with their propaganda?
Exactly. Mike and the other pastors could have completely stripped this
Yeah,
cartoon.
I think she's
Satan
doing it because she actually likes like the roller coaster ride of me tossing her onto the bed. But
of his power by using
so I
their
need to stop.
pulpits
Charlie,
acknowledge
oh
the
my
existence
God,
of
I'm
these
literally
scholarly controversies and whatever counterpoints they feel are pertinent, rather than just praying that their congregation remain blissfully ignorant of potential flaws. It's the historical lack of intellectual honesty in evangelicals that gave this YouTube Satan his power in the first place.
I made you. You gotta say you made.
I mean, I agree that it is the weakness of evangelical theology that did give this video whatever power it has. I don't know, Newman, you probably didn't see it all, but we talked about during that video, every single thing that Satan brings up is literally a critique that's specific to evangelicals. Like, it doesn't approach touching the Catholic or Orthodox Church, because all the problems are easily sort of, what do you call it, dissolved by Catholic and Orthodox theology, where evangelicals have a harder time because of the whole sola scriptura thing. They have to just like interpret based on their own interpretation, which Catholics and Orthodox don't have to do. We have a full, I shouldn't say we, I should say they have a full corpus of interpretation and knowledge about what these verses, what the context of these verses are, what they actually mean spiritually, symbolically, historically. So
Me, how childish. Yeah.
The book of Daniel, the authorship of the book of Daniel is very much an issue in question amongst scholars. There's a lot of scholars right now, currently, scholarly trends right now, that think the book of Daniel was written after much of the prophecies that it says will be our future.
Which is their bias, which is their hermeneutic, because they're looking for a way that the book could be naturally explained, so they have to place the date after the events that are predicted. Otherwise, they'd have to admit that there was genuine prophecy in the Bible, which of course there is.
It was written like 2nd century AD, BC, excuse me, not, back in the 5th, 6th century, or 6th, 7th.
That math ain't mathin'.
I wonder how Daniel.
Yes, it is. Just because you didn't follow it doesn't mean it doesn't. It wasn't even math. He just was telling us when, whatever.
Did it by pretending to be someone living in the distant past. An author could predict the future. The book of Daniel, allegedly written by the great wise man of the 6th century BCE, me, was actually written in the judgment of almost all critical scholars some 400 years later. What the fuck?
And what's that judgment based on? Why did they come to that conclusion? Because they don't believe in prophecy?
If the book of Daniel was written 400 years later, then
Also, the book of Daniel predicts things that still happen 200 years after 200 BC. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the fact that Daniel accurately predicts the coming of Jesus to the year of when he'll die, even if it is 200 BC? Oh, but was actually the book of Daniel written... Actually, I think the book of Daniel was written in 200 AD. The book of Daniel must have been written in 200 AD because that's after Jesus. So if he knew about Jesus, then he could not have written it in 200 BC. You see what they do? They just push it further and further based on their own bias.
then that would mean Daniel did not author the book of Daniel.
The irreverence that's there, like it's throughout the video, the sarcasm, the mockery of Christianity, of Christian values, of Christian people, and of Christian scholarship. the mockery of all of those things is all there. It's extremely propagandistic work. 100%.
100%.
The Chinese government would approve.
Someone alert Xi Jinping. This guy can't take a joke.
Mike spends far more time tone policing and clutching at pearls than putting on big boy pants.
Well, then why don't you actually listen to his argument and skip the part where he clutches his pearls? You decided to choose that part. So did you just play that part so you could shit on him for being offended by the representation of our Lord and Savior by the devil?
And just correcting any errors. And notice that Mike isn't actually pointing out any errors. He's merely pointing out that Christians have come up with excuses for why the true things that Satan is saying aren't a big deal.
They're not true.
Just like in the Garden of Eden, Satan is correct.
You are technically correct.
Just like in the Garden of Eden, Satan is correct. Tell me you've never read the Bible without telling me you've never read the Bible.
Best kind of correct.
I actually have my own video on the Book of Daniel and the dating of Daniel, where I don't just say, all the scholars know this. Dummies. You're all dummies because you don't know this. Duh.
Yeah.
Scholars know this. Pastors are hiding it. It's obviously a massive...
That's a good point, actually. When they played that Bart Ehrman clip, Bart's argument is an appeal to authority. And he is the authority. He is one of the authorities. So it's appeal to himself and appeal to authority. That's not an argument. So if he goes, well, every scholar knows that Daniel was in 200, just tell us why. And I suspect the reason he didn't tell us why is because they don't all know that. So
Christian conspiracy.
And I actually went and watched his video on the dating of Daniel. He does exactly what I said earlier. He presents the conservative Christian response to the critical scholarship, but then ends the discussion as if there is no critical response to the answers that conservatives give. There is an ongoing discussion, and the further you get into the details, you see the image in more relief, and you see how uncompelling the arguments for one side actually are. And I think the side that is less compelling is that of the conservative Bible scholar.
He mentioned several times that we're not presenting the whole picture. You're not presenting the this and the that. And, I think when it comes to, well, we all, people already tend to believe this set over here. And so we only need to present, the new perspective. There isn't enough time to honor all of these things.
An example, the Book of Daniel, the authorship of the Book of Daniel is very much an issue in question amongst scholars. A lot of.
All right, so
sorry, I keep laughing.
Is the authorship of the Book of Daniel an open question among scholars?
No.
Yes.
We don't
Nobody
know
knows.
what.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. In terms of who it was, that's an open question.
Right.
This authenticity, unity, nope.
Date? Yeah, Dave. We are pretty secure on this.
Why are they laughing? You're laughing, meaning that that's a stupid comment or it's easily refuted. So refute the comment. Why are you all so smugly Oh my goodness, Winger! You don't know that we've all decided that the Daniel is written in 200. Dummies, just present the argument. If it's not written in 200, show us why.
So but this is really the crux, right? Because from what Mike means by this is if there's one, right? If there's one evangelical scholar, right? That's the thing here.
Dude, all of these people's arguments, literally all these people's arguments is appeal to authority. They have no argument. They're saying, well, Mike found one scholar that doesn't, so we must be right because we have more scholars that agree. Ever heard of an appeal to authority fallacy, dummies? Just because a bunch of people say one thing doesn't mean the thing is right, obviously. Otherwise, slavery would be right. The earth would be flat. The sun would circle around the earth rather than the other way around. To Vrindavan, is Christianity a superset of Judaism? No. I don't really know what a superset is, but probably no.
50% and 50%. No, it's like 98% and you, Mike. Yeah.
So you must be right. Well, if 98% of people believe it, well, darn tootin', you must be right. That's how I know that the earth is flat. Because I'm from the year 400. That's how I know that the sun goes around the earth, because I'm from the year 800. That's how I know that slavery is actually the only natural order, that man is ordered in terms of kings and paupers and nobles and then slaves at the bottom, because 98% of people said it. Well, 98% of people said it, so it must be true. That's the atheist critical scholarship, jeering, mocking, flippant response to the scholarship of Daniel, without even addressing all these idiots that think that it's like a slam dunk on Christianity, that Daniel might have been written in 200. Still, none of them can address the fact that Daniel accurately predicts the coming and death of Jesus Christ to within the year. How do you explain that? Even if it's in 200. Even if I give you all your just appeal to authority assertions that Daniel is written in 200, it still doesn't explain the prophecy he makes after 200. Fucking idiots. And then they're just laughing. Oh, they're so smug. Yeah, Reddit is a huge source of these arguments of these kind. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there, you see this in a lot of commentaries, whether it's the pastoral epistles or Daniel, it's not impossible. We have, and they'll say things like, we have good reason to think, or it's plausible, or something like that, where they just need that little tiny sliver of not impossible, because they're speaking to people who already agree with them and just want to be made to feel like it's not impossible.
So it's offering you a lie, a distortion of reality, to defeat your faith in Scripture. It's propaganda. That's the nature of Satan's Guide to the Bible here. So they select, Bart Ehrman, who is well known, at least amongst certain circles that I'm in, well known for being somebody who tends to, when in doing popular writings and in popular settings like this interview, he tends to say things in much stronger and exaggerated ways to make his claims seem more strong and even more scholarly solid than we would think they really are.
Well, if somebody said, so my two books are Forged, which was a popular book, and Forgery and Counter-Forgery, and it was my very long scholarly book. If anybody can find any contradiction between those two books, I would love to know it. Nobody's ever pointed out one to me, and the claims are the same. Paul did not write the pastoral epistles. Paul almost certainly did not write Ephesians, Colossians. I mean, I know people say this about me, and it's an easy thing to say, because you can take a quotation from one book and a quotation from another book and say they're not saying exactly the same thing. That's true. One's scholarly, one's not scholarly. But if anybody knows of a contradiction, I would love to hear it.
The evangelical scholars, the ones who would be defending against the claims of Satan's Guide to the Bible here, their case is never...
Vernimon, I've read a couple different versions. I started with the NIV, and I'm currently reading the King James version. So they're both pretty solid. I think there's probably a better one. Either Catholic Study Bible or Orthodox Study Bible would be good if you're really trying to get into it and study, and have good footnotes and side notes. Are the Old and New Testament logically consistent with each other? Absolutely. Absolutely. The Old Testament totally informs the theology of the New Testament and vice versa. There's no contradiction between them. The God of the Old Testament is the God of the New Testament, quite obviously, I think. So, yeah.
Presented. Sometimes claims from them are presented, where they just say something, but their evidence or their case or their reasons for those claims are not presented, so it looks as though they're making sort of faith proclamations instead of actually providing their scholarship on an issue.
We've addressed this unreasonable demand for equal airtime already. There's a place for that. I don't think that place is necessarily in videos like the one he's critiquing.
Why?
As Paul said, the power in this video isn't some comprehensive debunking. It's the shock value of alerting Christians to controversies they've...
Oh, so it's not actually debunking. So the content of the video is to shock people into not being Christians, not to actually logically refute the ideas of Christianity. Okay, good to know. I'm glad we cleared that up. So the video is actually fallacious. It's actually just an emotional grab to try to trick young children into not being Christian. Gotcha. To Vrindavan, can I read Latin? No, I can't read Latin. I know a few words, but no, I wish I could. That'd be cool. But the Old Testament is written mostly in Hebrew, and the ancient Hebrew, and the New Testament is written mostly in Greek. So Latin comes about later, sort of with the church fathers. But okay.
Never heard of.
Oh, this is the first I'm hearing of it.
Pastors should have done a better job being open about this stuff in the first place.
But when you go to the skeptic, when the skeptics are quoted, the Ehrmans and the Avalos and these other guys, they get claims and evidence. They're going to unpack their reasons and their evidence, and more often than not, in fact, in almost every case, they don't give any scholarly response against those claims. There's no pushback whatsoever, even when those claims are in the minority of scholarship, even though the video pretends they're in the majority.
I sympathize with him to an extent here. He wants people to know both sides of the issue and how winsome his side is. Still,
Winsome?
I cannot help but to think just how ineffective and irresponsible it is that if the biblical narrative is true and to be believed unto salvation, for whatever reason, the God in charge of it, whom I unaffectionately call Bible God, has left believers and unbelievers in this precarious situation where we must hear competing sides of arguments and then decide which is more compelling to us personally. And that is what our salvation will be based upon, convincing arguments and claims. Even if Mike turns out to be right in his defense of the Bible, this whole process is still very off-putting to me.
But
This guy's an idiot. This guy's an actual moron. Who is he? I thought they said he was like a Christian rapper, which actually makes sense that he's a moron, but okay. I'm done with this.
Describes the gang rape and murder of a concubine without the text saying God disapproves of this action. It should simply be obvious God disapproves of what happened to Israel during this point in their history. The point of the book of Judges is that Israel at this time had suffered a grave moral decay, and any decent Israelite hearing the stories from this period would know that. The last line of the book even says, "In those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did what was right in his own eyes." The documentary also points to passages like Exodus 22 as proof God didn't just tolerate child sacrifice among his people, he actively commanded it. First, God didn't tolerate it at all, he opposed it, even though some people broke God's law, but he certainly didn't command it. The verse in Exodus says, "You shall not delay to offer from the fullness of your harvest, but from the outflow of your presses. The firstborn of your sons you shall give to me. You shall do likewise with your oxen and with your sheep. 7 days it shall be with its dam. On the 8th day you shall give it to me." But back in Exodus 13, the sacred author makes it clear what it means to give sons to God. "I sacrifice to the Lord all the males that first open the womb, but all the firstborn of my sons I redeem." The Bible talks about how Israel's freedom came because of the death of the firstborn in the final plague in Egypt. So now God requires the firstborn of Israel after that time to be redeemed or bought back through other substitutionary animal sacrifices. Okay, but what about passages where it seems on the face of it, God demands the killing of children? This comes up in the documentary section on the killing of the Canaanites described in passages like Joshua 6 and 1 Samuel 15. How could God order Israel to kill not just adults like the Canaanites, who were involved in gravely sinful acts, but innocent children? However, the documentary doesn't seriously consider the idea that God...
Vrindavan, if by the Torah you mean have I read... the Torah and the Old Testament are the same. I think there might be a few books that are different, but they're almost identical. So I've read the Old Testament plenty, in which case, yes, I have read the Torah. I'm not sure if like a strict rabbinic Jew will agree that our Old Testament is the same as their Torah. I mean, I think there are minor differences probably in terms of what books are included. But I think for all intents and purposes, I think it's fair to say that I've read the Torah.
God is the author of life, and so God does nothing wrong by ending our lives. If I give you $20 today and $20 tomorrow, and I stop giving you money the next day, I haven't wronged you, because that was a gift you had no right to in the first place. The same is true of God giving us life today, tomorrow, but not the next day. God also has the right to end life as he sees fit, including through violent means if that was necessary to make a public judgment
against a gravely sinful people. Indeed, while the documentary says the Bible slanders the Canaanites, it never shows the Bible's depictions of them supporting grave evils was wrong, including evils like incest or child sacrifice. The documentary then takes an interesting twist when it argues that historically the conquest narratives in Joshua never happened. That may seem like good news that God never killed anybody, but the critics say that the mere fact the Bible commands this, even if it wasn't carried out, still shows the Bible is not the Word of God. Well, this paves the way for us to talk about another way of understanding these conquest texts beyond a directly literal reading. We can understand them this way, that they're non-literal. Phrases like, all were struck down with the edge of the sword, all were destroyed, that are repeated over and over again in these passages, are typical of hyperbole used in ancient battle accounts. For example, the Egyptian Merneptah stele I mentioned earlier, that is the first reference we have to Israel, says Israel was laid waste, and his seed is not, even though the nation of Israel continued to exist for centuries after the stele was erected. Other ancient Syrian and Egyptian texts talk about how opposing armies were completely destroyed.
This is what I'm talking about with the harem language. It's common throughout the ancient world. It's used all the time, everywhere. So, of course, it shows up in another ancient culture, the Israelites, because they're a historical, actual people that have their similar customs and traditions to the people surrounding them.
Even instantaneously. But those same texts also refer to the continued existence of the supposedly destroyed forces. The purpose of Joshua and Samuel's bombastic rhetoric may not have been to provide a strictly literal recounting of Israel's confrontations with the Canaanites. Indeed, Joshua seems to contradict Judges. Judges describes the Canaanites being a continual presence and threat to Israel. It may instead have been used to describe in grandiose language the battles that Israel faced, without denying the threat that these groups posed even after the military engagements were over. A later chronicler in Israel's history may have used this hyperbolic language to underscore to his audience the importance of making a complete break with the neighboring pagan religions. Remember also that God allowed the ancient authors of Scripture to retain their own worldviews, which were theologically and morally undeveloped. For example, the early parts of the Old Testament do not explicitly teach other gods are false gods who don't exist. The early Israelites thought they existed. It's why they were tempted to worship them. Even Jesus said the Old Testament allowed divorce because of the people's hardness of heart, even though that was never God's plan for marriage. As Pope Benedict XVI said, God was progressively leading people who were steeped in a culture very different from our own, where war was extremely brutal. He also allowed them to retain other false beliefs about the world that impacted how they understood God. According to the Catholic biblical scholar Matthew Ramage, in his book Dark Passages of the Bible, if it seemed clear to the ancient writer that God wanted a certain battle won, and the tactics employed therein were successful, then God must have sanctioned or even directly willed these tactics, end quote. Just remember that if these texts bother you, know that the Church doesn't have a settled teaching on how they should be interpreted. It's possible that they're non-literal descriptions meant to emphasize Israel's need to maintain its unique, holy cultural standards, and that they're not literal descriptions of historical events. Moreover, the fact that they use evil acts of warfare as these symbols could reflect on how God came down to the level of understanding of these ancient people with language and other examples that they understood.
I mean, is that making sense to people? Like, isn't that a much more contextually centered take on the Canaanite murders than whatever Satan was presenting in that thing? Like, this has history, this has context, this has the church. That's why they can't attack the Catholic Church or the Orthodox Church, because there's actual, like, genuinely firm theology decided on by church fathers over thousands of years of history. Evangelicals just fly by the seat of their pants and they can say whatever they want, but if you're in an actual historical church, it's much, much harder to attack. Okay, I do gotta go. That was a fun one, guys. I got a little worked up, but of course you would. Reading Satan's Guide to the Bible. Fucking idiot. Vrindavan, that's a good question. Right, technically I am Protestant right now, but I will be joining a historical church I don't want to get into too much detail about that until it's done, until I'm, it's just a personal thing. But yes, right now I am a Protestant being called into a historical church, which would be either Catholic or Orthodox, leaning towards Orthodox. So thank you guys. Appreciate you. And take care. And it was a fun stream. And I